Greetings, citizens, and welcome to another adventure of the real. Nope, just completely blanked on it.
I love it. Who am I?
Yeah, what am I doing here?
We are getting older now. You are
Yeah,
40,
man.
so you're losing it.
Welcome to the Real Comic Heroes Podcast. Your adventure into the world of comic book movies starts here.
Greetings, citizens, and welcome to another adventure of the Real Comic Heroes Podcast. My name's Travis.
Patrick, got a special guest today.
Yeah,
Maybe familiar to some. Nhi.
Hi, I'm Nhi Do, and I am super pumped to be here today.
I was just telling Nhi in the green room that she's been on the show almost. I mean, she's definitely one of our more recurring guests. So pretty awesome.
So I'm very excited to get my T-shirt. They promised me one, so I'm
Right.
really excited.
Patrick is going to get on that as soon as we finish recording.
Yeah. It's totally not in the laundry, and it'll be on its way.
Yeah. Guest merchandise is his department. It's one of the things he signed in the contract.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I do it, guys. That's why I do it.
That swag.
Yeah. That swag.
What the hell are we here to talk about?
We're here for Mr. Wesley Snipes.
Yeah.
The most chiseled man in history of film. Like, he does not look real when he is in that, like, I guess
chamber
press. It looks like that's how they molded him. Like, it makes no sense to me.
Poured him into it.
Yeah, so we're talking Blade.
Yeah,
one of the great comic book movies of the 90s.
It's unfortunate that this is our first Wesley Snipes. I feel like we should have covered Demolition Man.
Is there a comic book for that?
No, but that hasn't stopped us before.
Okay, all right.
It feels like a movie we should have talked about, but oh well. I'm excited to talk about Blade. Definitely want to get into everyone's history and find out kind of where you both stand with Blade, where you're coming from as far as Blade goes.
Well, I am a big Blade fan. I'm obsessed. I love Blade. So I was talking to Travis and Patrick, and I think I signed up for this slot like over a year ago because I really wanted to make sure it was me reviewing this movie. So that's where I come from.
So was this a movie theater experience for you?
It was not. No, it was a rental. I was a little late to the Blade game.
Okay.
But I was hooked.
So how late are we talking?
Still probably 99 or 2000.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's still in the realm, of it being like hot and fresh. Yeah.
Okay.
Patrick, what about you?
Let's see. So I saw it in theaters because it was one of my first rated R movies I could get into legit.
Oh.
Without having to sneak in. So that's how I always remember it. Yeah, I was like blown away, and I don't think I realized until I guess Matrix came out how much this inspired Matrix.
Oh,
as far as like the aesthetic with the trench coat whipping and everything with the leather and stuff. A little bit of I guess bullet dodging in this as well.
Yeah.
So but yeah, I enjoyed the heck out of this movie. I listened to that bloodbath rave music.
Oh yes.
A lot.
That techno song.
Yeah.
I did too. Yeah.
It was like that in Mortal Kombat were probably like the two on repeat in my head.
For me, I had that and Sandstorm by Darude. Yeah. Man.
I know
we're so old.
This movie definitely makes you want to be like, oh yeah, like like throw some martial arts moves, but also like pull out your glow sticks and dance. It was like the perfect mix.
Yeah.
I just wanted his sunglasses. That's what I wanted.
Nice.
You want to be like Quinn.
Yep. I was more like Quinn, less like Blade, unfortunately. What about yourself, Travis?
I also saw this in theater. I don't know how I somehow dragged my family along to this. I must have been excited enough about like, hey, it's a comic book movie. It's Marvel Comics. It's, like they don't make these that often. Like, can we go see this? And for whatever reason, they came along with me. I was 15 when this came out. So it's like I couldn't have gone by myself to see it, I guess. But yeah, I mean the whole family went in, and I think like in the first 5 minutes, I think my parents looked at each other and were like, what did we get ourselves into? And afterwards they were like, what was that? That was terrible. And I was like, I had a great time with it. So that's yeah, I mean, that's where I started with. And then this was a franchise that by the time Blade Trinity came out, my girlfriend, now wife, and I were together. So that was a movie that came out during our relationship. So like we owned the trilogy on DVD. We would watch the whole trilogy, regularly, not a lot, but we definitely watched this first one and Trinity quite a bit together. And then, just one that we would revisit from time to time, but not in the last 10 or 15 years easily. But then actually this year, a friend of the show, Sully from Jacked Up Review Show, he had me on his podcast to talk Blade, just talk like the comics that came out around the time of the movies. So like the movie tie-in sort of comics. And so I rewatched the trilogy. I read a bunch of Blade comics and like had a fun time on his show. So like I've revisited the whole trilogy now recently. And my wife and I, we watched this. I told her we were going to talk about Blade, so she was excited to at least rewatch this one with me. So yeah, I mean, it's just a franchise that I have a lot of affection for.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it totally holds up.
Yeah.
Oh no, you don't, Patrick. Uh-oh. Already?
Until towards the end of the movie, it's just horrible CG. So
yeah,
it constantly makes me laugh after like just seeing his little foot left, and like I don't know, it just makes me laugh. But we'll get to it.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, overall it holds up. That's just the late 90s got a little out in front of their skis on computer graphics.
Sure. But I also think, like, speaking of just late 90s in general, this is a movie that feels timeless. And I don't know what it is exactly about it, but it doesn't feel like it's stuck in the 90s. It doesn't feel like it's early 2000s. It's just, I don't know. I think it just, some of the effects may date themselves, but the movie itself feels timeless, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's pieces of it that your adult old mind just can't realize that, like the computers and the music is a bit 90s. Overall, as like a structured film, it holds up.
Yeah, I think it's because, like, how some films are very tech heavy and this wasn't. It was more about, his journey of finding like who he is as a hybrid. So I think that makes it timeless. What makes a human, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just ignore the Discman and the computer graphics for the ritual, and you're good.
Yeah.
Pretty much. But you know what? The music didn't make it specifically such a time period for me. I just think like vampires and raves and parties. Yeah. That makes sense. Vampires love sexy dancing. Woo!
Right.
See, I am stuck with classical music vampires because of like Interview with a Vampire.
I was just gonna say Interview with a Vampire.
That's another movie. I love Interview with a Vampire.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess was Underworld kind of techno-y?
Yeah, I think they tried to.
And,
very.
Yeah. And leather. Yeah.
That's one that feels very 2000s, I think. I love the way this one opens, with the emergency room. There's a pregnant lady, it's chaotic because the emergency staff are trying to like save this woman, or at least, save her baby. And you hear that she's been bitten by something and they're losing her. And then they just carry the baby off. So it's like, I like that. Like, that's all you get. And we, of course, as an audience know, okay, she was most likely bit by a vampire, and that kind of tracks with the Blade comics. In the Blade goes back to 1973. He debuted in Tomb of Dracula #10. By Tomb of Dracula #13, they did an origin story for Blade, and he talks about his mother went into labor and a doctor came in, or it was a vampire posing as a doctor. It was Deacon Frost. So same character, bites his mother, and the other people around chased off the vampire, but then she, of course, delivered Blade. And so in those original comics, he was just a human, but because of the vampire bite, he was immune to vampirism. So it made him a good, vampire hunter because he couldn't be turned into a vampire. And then once David Goyer started to work on this movie, which I think he started this around 94, I think. So he started coming up with ideas. It was his idea to make Blade the Daywalker, that whole idea of the Daywalker with, their powers and none of their weaknesses. That comes from David Goyer and some of his drafts of the character. And then obviously it went into production like that, and Marvel liked it. I think the audience liked that aspect of Blade so much that by like the following year in a Spider-Man comic, Blade fights Morbius and gets bitten by Morbius. And because Morbius isn't a traditional vampire, that gives Blade sort of vampire powers, So in the comics, they then made Blade the Daywalker.
Weird.
Brought him up to speed because people liked that version so much that.
Well, I mean, the other version's just a guy that got his vampire vaccine. So
right.
And also, didn't they? What was it? I think it was in Spider-Man. They introduced the character of Whistler because they loved Goyer's character so much.
Yeah, they introduced Whistler in the Spider-Man animated series. Because they already, I guess, because those Goyer drafts had already been written. So when they started working on the Spider-Man cartoon, they were like, "Hey, give us some details about Blade because we're going to put him in an episode." So I think someone gave him, he's got this guy Whistler with him, kind of his right-hand man.
Figure,
yeah. And so that kind of got them into some trouble because the Fox TV studio that was producing that Spider-Man show didn't have the rights to the Whistler character because that was through New Line Cinema. It was I guess a big deal, but
good job, Christopherson then.
Yeah. Let's see. It opens with just I found out that this guy and this lady in a car, and she reaches down and grabs his crotch. And he says, that's my heat seeker.
Heck yeah, it is.
In the credits, he's listed as heat seeking Dennis.
Oh,
I never
knew
that before, but I like that.
Oh, wow.
That's on my business card if I was him.
Yeah, I want to make sure that's like on my IMDb, it's listed like heat seeking Dennis. That's one of my known for.
That's all I know him for. So.
Yeah. I like that the movie opens with this guy. We're kind of following these two, she takes him to a club and it's this, rave thing. And like, she takes him through the meat packing plant or the butcher, whatever this meat processing. Yeah. Takes him through there. And if you're paying attention enough, you see like a body bag, something that doesn't look like cow, comes through in a bag. And it's, like he kind of notices it. And then she pulls him along, before he has a chance to like really figure out that that's a human, body in there. And I like that we go through these first, few moments of the movie with like, he's, the audience surrogate, he's figuring things out. We're like 5 steps ahead of him because we know that this is a movie about vampires, but we don't know that, it's going to end up in a bloodbath, and so I like that we get to watch him figure this out, even though we're not that much farther along than he is.
Yeah, this is definitely like the meat locker definitely reminded me of Rocky, and I was like, ooh, this is
it's like
vampiric Rocky.
I you're seeing Tracy Lords here as this Raquel character with the guy. I wish she had stuck around a lot longer in the movie. I honestly I wish she maybe swapped places with it's the character's name is Mercury. It's like the blonde vampire that's always with Deacon.
Oh, Mercury.
Yeah, I kind of wish that maybe they'd swapped characters and we got Tracy Lords a lot more in this movie because I think she's really good in this role. I mean, it's a brief, sort of appearance, but
yeah, she's got presence.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
She just takes up the screen. Like
Mhm.
I don't know, Mercury. I forget she's there half the time.
Yeah, yeah,
She doesn't have a whole lot of lines though either. So
yeah.
most of hers are like looks and
Mhm.
making fun of Quinn.
Yeah.
And I wonder if they like had her because they wanted to kind of do that like Russian connection.
Maybe on my second go around on watching this for taking my notes, I started to watch the commentary. I ended up bailing on that because it was a little too difficult to listen to the commentary and watch the movie and take notes on the movie, but try to absorb the commentary. But one thing I did learn was that when she takes that guy to this rave, the doorman, like the big like doorman vampire, at the time, I don't know if still or not, that's her boyfriend. So it's possible maybe they cast him as a bouncer and he was like, hey, I'm dating Tracy, she would do a quick, scene, or could be vice versa. Maybe they got her and then, she said, hey, my boyfriend would be perfect for this role. But, either way.
That's a fun tidbit.
Yeah. But I think this opening sequence, the whole blood rave thing, I think is a perfect introduction to this world. I think this Dennis guy, he's enough. He just feels enough of like a douchebag that we want him to get ripped apart by vampires. I think,
Pretty harsh. Wow.
I know it's a bit harsh. He's just looking for a good time, man.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But
I don't know why I misremembered this part and thought that there was more than just him as a regular human.
Oh, okay.
At this party, like it seems like it would be like a place to like catch a group of people. Like
everyone brings a +1.
Yeah.
Yeah,
kinda.
yeah.
Or so I forgot he was the only human that at least gets shown anyway.
Right. I assume he's the only human. Yeah, it plays that way.
Yeah.
I absolutely love once the blood starts coming down and he starts to get a look around at people and they're covered in blood. Something about that aesthetic of just these people that are painted red, but they've got these bright white teeth and their eyes are super bright. Like it's super effective and really love the way that they then turn on him and start growling. And I think that's just super effective.
I love this opening. I get pumped every time I see it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the music helps, but like,
oh, absolutely.
That is the best. Like you see that all unfold, and you think, "Well, this guy's screwed." And then, the best hero introduction ever in movie history, probably. So
he's like crawling out. Yeah,
it's
like,
so good.
I can't think of a better one, honestly.
Like 89 Batman's pretty solid. This one's up there, I think, as far as hero.
This one pumps me up.
Yeah.
Because Batman's just holding the dude.
Yeah.
And like struggling, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Like
Batman's cool. Michael Keaton's Batman is very cool.
I think like for me it's because I think in those first few moments when you get sucked into this like vampire world and what's going to happen to this guy, and then suddenly there's someone standing there, it's like, oh yeah, this is a superhero movie. Like I think the vampire stuff for me, I think kicks in just enough that you kind of forget it's a comic book movie and not just a vampire movie. And so once he's there, it's like, oh shit, and he just talk about presence, Wesley Snipes just standing there. The way the vampires react to him, everyone's real cautious. There are vampires behind him.
Yeah, that aren't doing
and they're scattering and I love the whispers. There's like, Jesus, it's him, it's the Daywalker. Like it's perfect. I love it. It's like he doesn't even have to say anything.
Yeah.
Right? There's no catchphrase, nothing. Everyone else is like, whisper, whisper, whisper.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he it's a weird, like, he looks so badass, but he's also like smiling at times, like
Sometimes,
he
yeah.
has his boomerang.
I love his sense of humor.
And the fist pump he does when he nails him to the wall.
Yeah. There's little odd moments like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
It's
love
like-
it. You don't? You hate it?
Oh, I like it. It's
Okay, good.
just yeah, it makes me laugh every time, but it's weird because he has like no sense of humor throughout the rest of the movie. It's just these little sprinkle dots of humor he brings out in the movie.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like I wonder if there was either more humor from him, because sometimes it feels like they went through and edited out all of the humor, but then there were a few moments that they couldn't remove because it was key to the scene, or they didn't have, they didn't shoot it another way. And so I wonder, it's like, did they start the movie where he does have a sense of humor, and then someone went through and said, let's cut all the humor out and just make him as deadpan as possible? But then, like I said, there's some moments that they just didn't have anything to replace it with, because sometimes it feels odd how serious and stoic he is, but then he'll smile in a weird way. Like,
I have to disagree.
okay,
I think
I enjoy it. I like his humor, throughout. I just feel like it seems out of place. But go ahead.
Well, I think, like, when you're talking about when he's fighting against the vampires, it's like it's his pump, like it's his reason for being, and so he's like a little kid, like, I got you, like, he gets really excited about it, right?
Yeah.
And then when he's talking to obviously Whistler or Karen about the war and things like that, or like who he is, then he gets very serious and stoic, because that's more of vulnerable conversation.
That's fair.
That's kind of what I picked up.
Yeah.
That's what I got. Yeah. To me, it totally worked. It made sense as a character.
Yeah, I like the sprinkling of the I wouldn't call it like comedic or anything, but it's lightheartedness that gets sprinkled in.
Yeah.
I guess.
I think it's like, when characters are known for being like roguish, this is like Blade's version of being roguish.
Yeah, I could see that. Gotta get him a mandolin or something.
Yeah.
A bard.
Yeah.
Something that this movie, I don't think it definitely didn't introduce the idea of vampires turning to ash, but certainly no other property had ever done it this way, where they just incinerated instantly, and you see their skeletons briefly, and then that just dissolves into ash. And I think all of that holds up. I mean, when you're like, I think Patrick and I probably both have similar versions of this. Like, I bought the movies on iTunes or Apple, whatever, and so it's high def, but I think in that quality, I think it all holds up. The vampires turning to ash. So
yeah, I have the DVD box set.
Okay.
Yeah, but this time I watched on Amazon Prime, and it still holds up. It's good. The little facts on the side too.
Oh,
Nice.
the X-ray, yeah.
Yeah, like
Nice.
for instance, I found out, and I forgot to mention this, that Shannon Lee plays one of the hospital residents in the beginning.
I noticed the name in I went through IMDb.
Right. Yeah, and I was like, that's insane.
Was she of the Bruce Lee?
Yes.
Okay.
She is his daughter.
Okay.
And she's the producing the show Warrior now.
Okay.
Yeah. So crazy cool. I didn't even know that she was an actor for a bit, but
yeah. There were a few names in the IMDb list that stood out to me. In this blood rave sequence, I tried finding her, just but I couldn't. So if either of you have watched Ahsoka or The Mandalorian, the character Morgan Elsbeth, played by Diana Lee Inosanto.
Oh yeah, of course.
She's in the Blood Rave. She's she's an uncredited, vampire in the Blood Rave. I don't know if she's fighting, but she has a martial arts background, so it's plausible that she was maybe one of the people fighting, but I couldn't tell who was
Oh, it's like Where's Waldo when everyone's painted red.
Everyone's
so
red, yeah. So
it's like everyone's red and really good looking. So
yeah,
it's like,
and then later in the movie, the little girl that Frost is holding hostage, that's Brenda Song. She's, I mean, known
Oh my
for
gosh,
several
right.
things. I just found that
That's
out.
crazy. Well, I wonder if there's like a connection because Diana Lee Inosanto, Bruce Lee is her godfather.
Oh, okay.
Because her father is a very famous martial artist specializing in Filipino martial arts, and so Bruce Lee used to train with him. So there's like a little Lee family connection here.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. I don't know why suddenly thinking of all that, I just pictured like, what if Brandon Lee was still around in this movie and he was like Morbius? Like that would be a perfect. I could see him playing Morbius, but man,
not Jared Leto.
Well, I mean, you know,
I was kidding.
Yeah. One of my favorite aspects of this movie, and he pops in here, is Donald Logue's, Quinn character, and I never tire of Quinn in this movie. I think he's a lot of fun.
He's amazing.
Patrick?
I think I enjoyed him a lot more when I was younger.
Okay.
Now I just enjoy waiting for his demise.
There are a few moments where he's a bit too much, but
but I remember enjoying it a lot when I first saw it. I thought he was goofy, but like he definitely sticks out in the crowd.
Yeah. And Nee recently worked with Donald.
Oh, okay.
I did.
In Dormouse.
Yeah, so I got to meet Donald, and he is absolutely lovely and not nearly as hyper as in this movie.
Yeah.
So but I will say, when I first met him, I was like, oh my God, it's Quinn. In my mind, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I like him in certain things, but sometimes like the long in the tooth line just kind of I think I've had enough of.
Yeah.
Like again, it's supposed to be a hokey joke, but it's just I don't know. He's hit or miss with me in this movie. Like
okay, I guess same, but mostly hits.
Yeah.
I think you're meant to be annoyed by the character by the end of it.
Yeah, I think it's a big genre piece. He's totally supposed to be like that, not the smartest sort of sidekick, that's like, yeah, that kind of guy.
Yeah.
Like it goes for Frost's whole crew. It's like he surrounds himself with like not frightening folks that seem to be incompetent at what they do.
But they're also like
easily manipulated.
They're on the fringe of this vampire, power structure, because you got the elders and then you got these guys. These guys are all the young upstarts who don't want to do things by the elders' rules. They don't, so I think
they're not like they're not pure bloods, right?
Yeah.
See, I guess I just don't understand Frost's whole organization because he's got like military guys at the same time.
Yeah.
As these like I guess Batman villains. So it's kind of weird because he's got like all these like people that all are dressed in the same outfits, and then he's got Quinn. Like
security force. Yeah, I mean they're just hired goons.
Because like the whole movie, I couldn't understand why the board just didn't destroy this group. Like
I came to that kind of point myself. Like I don't know how much power these guys have, but we'll get to that towards the end. Any other notes kind of on the blood rave sequence?
Greatest heroic opening.
Amazing. I will say, like, okay, so when Blade spikes Quinn, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, he didn't disintegrate. Right. So that caught me off guard. When I first saw it, like the first time, I was like, oh, he's a familiar.
Oh, okay.
Right. But then when he slices the hand and then we find out it grows back, I'm like, oh, so I mean,
yeah, the rules of the sword don't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, exactly. It's like first it's like heart and head, right? So you're like, cool.
Right. Yeah. I think it has to hit a vital organ in order to make them completely,
True, and
disintegrate.
I agree with Patrick. It kind of gets a little loosey goosey towards the end of the film
Sure.
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
effect,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
you know, it's not that kind of movie, right?
Right.
It's like
right.
we're having fun. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
Because not 30 seconds earlier than that, Blade throws a glaive, from one side of a round room, and it comes
Yeah.
back on the other
Oh,
side.
yeah.
So
Yeah, exactly.
It's a boomerang, you uncultured person.
Yeah.
Come on.
yeah.
Oh, I did find out that Stan Lee was supposed to make
Oh,
a
yeah.
cameo
Yeah.
I
at
wish he
that
was
scene.
at the rave.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah,
That would've been awesome.
he comes
One
up
of the-
after.
One of the cops when Quinn's on fire.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, he should have been the date.
The DJ.
Oh man.
Oh, he's been a DJ, so
Yeah.
that makes sense.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going then to the hospital, we meet Karen, played by Nabush Wright. I for whatever reason, I really latched on to Karen's character this time around and really appreciated her character. I think before I've just kind of been yeah, she's okay. I've never seen the actress in anything else before or since, so I didn't have anything to compare that to, but it was always a performance that never really worked for me. But for whatever reason, watching it this time around, I was really into the Karen character that I'm excited to talk about as we go.
I thought she was part of this movie more after rewatching it. I forgot how little she was actually a part of the story. For some reason, I thought she created that vaccine, and there was more to it than hypothesis.
Yeah.
So I think I just misremembered things around it.
I mean, because it's hard because there are 3 Blade movies and there are different serums and things. So we probably started blending them all. But something I thought she brought a great groundedness to the film.
Yeah, because I like that she then becomes like I mentioned in the opening, we had Dennis as the audience surrogate. Now she becomes our audience surrogate, and we get to learn about this vampire underworld and the vampire hunting underworld, and all that we get to learn through her eyes.
Absolutely.
So,
and I love that sometimes her reactions are like, you guys are crazy, or what are you talking about? Because it's like, what? There's a lot to take in.
What I found this time around that I really appreciated is that she, in regards to her own survival, she's not a damsel throughout the movie. She gets saved, here or there, but she's not just she's got
she totally takes care of herself.
For one, she's this doctor character who is an expert in her field of hematology, so she brings a lot of that to that's a tool that Blade and Whistler can then use. She'd be a great asset to their sort of ongoing war against vampires. So I like that. The thing I don't care for, because she is a hematologist, it's we need this sequence of her becoming bitten in the hospital in order to get her there. Blade lets Quinn live. He toys with him. He says, we'll try fire this time. So he lets Quinn live. They take him to the hospital, and then he says, well, I came back to finish you off. So it's you're putting people at risk by letting Quinn go, just so you can, chop him up more later or whatever. So that's
well, I think he would have finished Quinn off if the cops hadn't come.
I guess so. Yeah.
He did. He ran.
Yeah.
He swooshed his trench, guys.
Yeah,
that meant,
he did.
that meant he exited quickly. Okay.
I think he's Blade should be fast enough. He could whip out a sword and finish off Quinn then and there. But we need a sequence to take place, in the hospital so that we can involve Karen and move the story forward that way. Yeah, I really like the way that all plays out. I like that, he looks down at her when she's there on the floor and gets a flash of his mother. That's makes sense. That I guess there was something I did hear in the commentary. They're part of the earlier draft is that Blade actually remembers being born. He remembers his entire life, from the point of being bitten or from when his mother was bitten, and then he then became something else. He then remembers being born. He remembers seeing his mother, all of that. Like, so that's a memory of his, not just something he assumes is how his mother looked in the hospital, so it's like it's a literal memory of his when he flashes to that.
Okay.
So yeah.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, because I was like, how would you remember? You were just born.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for
'cause
explaining.
They whisked him away pretty quick, so
Yeah.
great eyesight.
Right.
Because he's part vampire.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know. If I just came out of the womb, my eyes would be like adjusted to the light, but I guess he's got special powers as a baby even.
Yeah.
Oh, this is my next favorite lighthearted Blade moment where the cops
Okay.
shoot him.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
I knew you were gonna
Yeah.
mention this.
I like that part.
You out of your damn mind? Watching it now, and the amount of shots that the cops all take at him when he's holding a hostage, in their minds, he's holding a hostage, or at least just an innocent bystander. But they are opening fire at him with no regard to her life.
Mhm.
It's crazy.
It's a bit of a commentary on cops and
I think so.
Black people for sure.
Yeah.
It's like a LAPD. It's like freeze, but they've already shot
Right.
at you. It's
Yeah.
See, I thought after watching it, I didn't know this the first time, but I thought they were like on the vampire side because they own the cops
Oh,
and they know who Blade is.
oh, that's true. too.
Otherwise, I mean, it's a crispy, burnt up dude that
Right.
is like got bright white eyes that are
Mhm.
like growing back or whatever that is.
Yeah. Fun fact about Quinn being all in the burnt sort of makeup and everything. I guess he had a motorcycle injury like years prior to this, and while doing this whole thing where he bites her, and somehow they went to the ground, like they hit the floor, and
Mhm.
somehow that hit his jaw like in the right spot, same place that he got injured previously. And so his whole jaw was like hanging down and off to the side, and he couldn't speak, but he was in incredible pain. So he was trying to get across the fact that he needs to go to the hospital. So they take him to the hospital. And meanwhile, he looks like this burn victim. So they get to the
Oh my
hospital,
gosh.
and the emergency crew is like, "Oh, we've never seen anything like this. Like, what the hell happened?" Like, no, this is makeup. His problem is his jaw. He so, but apparently it's like this issue where if he opens his mouth quickly, if his jaw gets opened quickly, it can just dislodge itself. And so part of that's biting her and then going to the ground, I guess it
Yeesh.
knocked it loose. So
Wow,
yeah.
that sounds
But-
so painful.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh. Yeah, no thanks.
Yeah. We meet Whistler. We already talked a little bit about Christopherson, but he is great. I think he's kind of channeling. I think. I mean, he's got his own style, but he feels to me a lot like Sam Elliott, in Roadhouse, kind of that same kind of character. But I mean, yeah,
Another great film.
Yeah. But I really dig the Whistler character. I think he's a welcome presence in the movie.
I just love that, it gives Blade that more, because he seems so untouchable. And so having this father figure makes him more relatable.
Yeah. And I like that
Yeah.
neither of them are, they're not going to say that they love each other,
No.
but you can tell that like, yeah, they've been together a long time. Like this is like, yeah, they
They
do
need each
care about
other.
each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I wrote down cranky Southern rock Alfred.
That's
Oh, that's
great.
great.
That's what he made me think of.
Nice.
I mean, it's very Batman-like. I mean, he's even got a Blade mobile, like
Yeah.
and a Blade motorcycle later. But
Mhm.
It's true.
lots of
Yeah.
fun toys. So
Yeah.
Mhm. That they make together, and
Yeah.
yep. All in black. Yep. Except he's not a coward and doesn't wear a mask. Like Batman.
Right.
But he needs his sunglasses are his mask.
And I like that they fund it by stealing from vampire victims or whatever.
I love that
Like he
aspect of it.
just has a
It makes
bag of watches and
yeah,
like
yeah.
loose like money clips and stuff.
Which means that, you know, anytime Blade clears out a room of vampires, then he's just sifting around in the little ash piles looking for, you know, cash and jewelry
Hey,
and
that makes it easier. He doesn't go through.
yeah.
I weirdly when they disintegrate, their clothes disintegrate, so all that's left
Yeah.
is the I guess loose change.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a good operation going on, you know?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We meet the Vampire Council. Man, we get Udo Kier as Dragonetti, like this leader, I guess, of this, you know, this group of vampires. He just looks like a vampire, you know. He is at the perfect look for this type of role. I think he was in a vampire movie, I think, in the 70s or 80s, I think. But I dig this scene. I like the you know, we meet all these older vampires, you know, they all have like their own distinct looks and everything. So they're not all like in, you know, boring business suits, but you definitely get a couple of them like that. Yeah, I like this, like meeting these guys, and then we meet Deacon Frost, and he's, you know, got his own look. He's
Yes, he does.
Yeah. Bad boy.
Yeah, he's all like young, fresh blood, you know,
Mhm.
wanting to overthrow the old.
Yeah. He's only
I-
like 100 like thousands of years old.
I
is the
do
vibe I
wonder
got.
about that. Like I would like to know how old Deacon Frost is.
He
I
gives me
mean,
like a 60s vibe, like 50s, 60s vibe.
I could go with that.
As far as when
He,
he turned into a vampire, maybe because his
right,
style is very like greaser kind of inspired.
a little bit, yeah.
He's got
Hmm.
like a leather jacket on all the time, but I guess so does Blade. But yeah,
Yeah.
He's got like his dress shirt always slightly unbuttoned.
Yeah. I love Frost's look.
I know I have questions about his hairdo, but I don't know. That's weird to me.
Yeah.
I feel like it was of the time.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
that sort of like it's not quite full on boy band, but like boy band adjacent.
Yeah.
Yeah, his bangs bother me. I don't know. They're out of control.
Yeah.
Do you want to just go in with a pair of scissors?
I just want a comb, man. Just comb your hair. I get your rough and tumble. I do like his line to I'll pop a vampire, Dragonetti, because it's very much a father-son kind of vibe I get.
Yeah.
And he's like talking about one day you'll wake up extinct or whatever, because he's always getting like put down because he's not a pureblood, very Harry Potter-esque.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know vampires could be born as
Right.
vampires, so that was new to me. Like, I thought there was like a great grandfather originator kind of that just created all the other ones.
I think there's so much vampire lore that
Yeah.
it's impossible to say, like, you know, oh, it all starts here. But, you know, I mean, this franchise will eventually introduce Dracula and say that he's the father of all, you know, vampires.
Yeah.
So, you know, where does it all?
Yeah, he was like the first vampire.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I like in this scene that he's getting dressed down because they had this run-in with Blade, and his like underground, you know, raves are causing too many, you know, it's becoming a problem. It's like you can't congregate in numbers like that and not expect Blade to show up, I guess. So
Yeah, and that's the part where I'm like, as soon as he like threatened the main guy, I figured, yeah, he's done.
yeah,
like,
yeah,
like they got to be pretty big to be, you know, the top 12 or whatever vampires, so, or 13, whatever it is.
Yeah. We get a quick little scene that I found out almost got cut out, but it's Blade goes to visit this herbalist. We don't even get a name for the guy, but he's credited as Cam. And I love this scene so much because I think it does a lot of heavy lifting as far as building out this universe. And what I mean by that is like it establishes that Blade and Whistler aren't on this, you know, they're not on their own. They've got a network of at least, you know, like this guy helping them, supplying them with things. He may not be out there, staking vampires, but he's part of the team. And then we learn that they're using, jewelry collected from vampires to fund everything, and that makes sense because they do need, they need to pay for all this stuff, and they need silver,
Yeah.
so that makes sense as well.
And also the blade is building a resilience,
Yeah.
to his serum, right? So it's
Yeah.
kind of like, it's cool because it creates more of an urgency in the
Yeah.
sense that it's like, what happens if you can't control it anymore?
Yeah.
So yeah, Cam's a Renaissance man. He creates herbal vampire thirst quenching formulas and fences stolen goods.
Yeah.
So all around man. Never get to see him again, but
Yeah. I wish we had.
Yeah.
I was hoping to maybe like see him in the second one,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think he comes after Karen for taking his job as the serum guy.
Oh, right. He's like, what the hell?
We at this point, I think this is where Karen kind of starts to kind of wake up, and she starts snooping around a little bit, and she sees Blade get his serum, and just the physicality that Wesley Snipes brings to that scene, I think is amazing. Just it looks like it hurts, it looks like he's going through something, just performance wise.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's like he's going, it's painful to not be his true self, which is, becoming more of a vampire.
Yeah.
It costs him every time. Yeah.
But I do enjoy his recovery slow dropping behind her.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know it.
Sneaks up
And
on
then
her.
he literally has a blade.
Yes.
It's like Blade, and you've met Blade, and there's Blade holding the blade. It's
Yep.
like,
Yeah. Hey, he knows his name
That's right.
and his vibe. So
Yeah, I like that this is kind of like a big exposition dump sort of sequence a little bit. We find out, Whistler gives her some information about vampires and what they're dealing with, and they explain that garlic and silver are some of their biggest tools in their arsenal, that religious elements don't matter here, holy water and crosses, like they don't do anything. So I like that it starts to establish here that there's a scientific aspect to the vampirism, and they'll get into that obviously more and more as they deal with like what Karen's going through and what her plan is to defeat, vampires. So I like that they base it in science, I guess.
yeah, I just wish they got rid of the garlic thing.
Oh yeah.
If I was her, I'd just hold up in like an Olive Garden. Never-ending breadsticks.
Right.
Keep me safe. Like, it's just weird that garlic is still a thing. Like, apparently later can combine with silver blow up a head, but
but it has to be a ton of garlic, right? It's not just like
extract or whatever. Yeah.
Essence, Patrick.
Essence of garlic.
Essence, whatever. Oh. Yeah, just light a garlic incense candle.
I do want to mention, like, I love when Karen's exploring by herself, like kind of snooping around, and she sees Blade's blade.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is the classic Chekhov's gun when she touches it and it releases the spikes.
Yeah, that's the coolest like theft device I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I know. When I first saw that, I was like, oh, that's so dope. I was like, how does that work? Right? It's like, is it like, fingerprint or, or the weight or,
I think it has like a pressure plate somewhere in the handle that if it gets squeezed,
right?
Frost does it later.
Oh, that's right. Yes,
turn the
does.
safety on or whatever. It's weird that it like makes as much noise as it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be quieter for sure.
Yeah.
Like it sounds like an egg timer. Like but yeah, I do enjoy that a lot.
One of the things throughout this movie I really enjoy are the Whistler and Karen moments, and we get a few of them. The first one is like here when he's, he injects her. I guess that was before, but he's explaining to her about like, you've been bitten, just be on the lookout for if you're sensitive to light, if you're thirsty all the time, buy yourself a gun and use it. So like that he kind of gives it to her straight, but genuinely seems to care, or at least, sympathize with her. So I like their scenes together, especially more later on in the movie. But
yeah, it's great. It's almost like giving you a taste of what Whistler's fathering would be like to Blade, right? Like explaining everything, but also being realistic and truthful.
Yeah.
Not sugarcoating anything. Ooh, and I have to say, when he says like there's a war out there and he's like Blade, myself, and a few others.
Yeah.
I always like, this was before Blade 3 came out. I was always like, ooh, who are the others?
Yeah.
So I feel like maybe they're hinting about like the night or they use that as like to make the Night Stalkers for Blade 3.
Yeah. Yeah. I always love that when they hint at a larger world. And I think that's what I was getting at with that, earlier scene in the herbalist's, place. Like it's that it builds the universe in such a easy, quick way. And then we see, I love this scene that we cut to with Frost and like Dragonetti comes to this vault and approaches Frost and he's just, brooding in the corner.
Patrick's dying.
Yeah, Patrick hates this.
You love the technology, right? And the Discman.
Oh yeah, I mean, at least the server room looks legit.
Yeah,
I'll give him that. But yeah, no, it does give me like father visiting his teenage son. That like he's not even listening to him; he's listening to his music, and it's.
I love this the bit where he slaps him, and then it was actually. In the 1999 MTV Movie Awards, they did a joke. Like they presented the 4 of the nominees for best dramatic pause, and this was one of them. And so they just play the from the where he slaps him, and they play it through, this dramatic pause as he composes himself, and then gets in his face and says like, "What are you gonna do?" But I love Frost. I think he's a great villain. He's fun to watch.
Yeah, his eyes are insane to me.
Yeah.
Oh, they're piercing.
Yeah. He's an actor who can. It looks like they somehow do an effect and make him look more evil, but he's really just contorting his face a little bit, and like maybe they change the lighting at the right moment. But he's does it a few times in this movie where he's just able to look purely monstrous, but he's not wearing, prosthetics. It's not like they're doing the Buffy thing where vampires become, monsters. It's just purely his face, and he's just he knows how to act and come across as evil.
But like not like I mean, it is definitely heightened, but it's still grounded. It's not silly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I remember like, because when I rewatched this, I was thinking like, oh yeah, Steven Dorff's gonna come all big as Deacon Frost, and I watched it. I'm like, oh, this is way better than I remembered.
Yeah, he only dials it up a few times, really.
Yeah.
Most of the time, he's pretty like stoic or brooding or whatever.
Yeah, and the little bit of like exposition that we learn in that is that he's trying to translate something. So it's like they're starting to kind of plant the seeds of this greater scheme that Frost has. And we got to Blade and Karen, and he just kind of cuts her loose, just drops her off, I guess near her place maybe, and it's he's on his way. And like what this next sequence kind of does, it explains, or it's where we first get the first hint of familiars, and that vampires are or familiars are all around us. It's not, because she's living next door to some, and that's not even the threat in this case. Like they just happen to be her neighbors. So I like that.
It was a great scene, because it's pretty much like putting into play everything that Whistler was talking about.
Yeah. We get Krieger, the cop. I never tire of seeing Blade just beat on this character.
I know. And I love it. He's just destroying her apartment.
Yeah.
And he's like, nope, this is a familiar. And she's like, is this really necessary? And he just
But-
doesn't even answer.
Yeah. Yeah, we learn about familiars and the glyph tattoos on their necks and the blood banks, and establishes that he's like just robbing him as he's, at his mercy. So yeah, I think it just does a lot of good little things that expand it. But the out on the sidewalk, and he's just beating up a cop in his own car in broad daylight.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, that
Then
happens a lot.
whips out his gun too to try to shoot him.
Yeah. Because that happens again where the little girl's taken hostage by Frost. He like chucks her across into the road.
Yeah.
And Blade like scoops her up at like lightning speed, and everyone's just walking on by.
Yeah.
New York, am I right? Or wherever the heck this is supposed to be. But I assume
Well,
New York.
this is so weird because I thought it definitely looked like Chicago the way that it was shot, but I looked it up. It's actually filmed in LA, and some of the exteriors were in Vancouver.
Okay, yeah.
But then they were saying that the map that he's holding in the beginning is New Orleans, because I believe the comics take place right in New Orleans. Is that right?
I think he definitely spends a lot of time in New Orleans. Some of the Blade comics I read, had him in New Orleans. I think he's kind of everywhere, and they even say that this is like they track vampires, they track their movements, they don't stay anywhere too long. Which I kind of take a little. I don't know if I buy that, because the warehouse, like this place that they're living in and using as their base of operations, like it looks lived in. Blade has a library in his area. Like, I don't get the sense that they pack all that up overnight and just, are gone, so like it feels like they've been here for months. So, but I did notice that Krieger's, police badge says Center City. So I think it's just like a made up city name. Like I don't think they're trying to go for like this is LA, but I do think it is meant to be LA, because you got the city and then city and then not too far outside they got desert where the end of the movie happens.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
Let's see. Oh, then we get the Vampire Club, because they followed. I hate the chase scene where they follow Krieger. Like I really just hate the editing and the way that they show the two cars.
The style of shooting.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like the close-ups on the actors and seeing the rear projection. It's very stylized. Like I know that's what they're going for, and I don't care for this sequence. It's quick, but I've never cared for it.
Yeah, it didn't bother me. I sort of took it as a manic kind of vibe, and I kind of like the whole vampire on the corner randomly killing this lady. So
yeah, that was.
I kind of wish that as Blade drove by, he would have just taken a shot. Like just one more little vampire that I can easily take out, but didn't have to stop for. I don't know. So yeah, this Vampire Club. As I watched it this time, I noticed like I don't think that in this world, I don't think vampires have as much like super strength as in other franchises, because like Blade gets some of their strength, but I don't think that literally means he's that much stronger than everyone else. Like he's obviously a super fit guy, but like he walks into this room full of vampires. I assume everyone in this club is a vampire. And like it never feels like Karen's at risk of anything. It doesn't feel like any of them are inclined to jump up and attack Blade. Like it doesn't feel like vampires in this world. Like they're just kind of normal people. They're not all supernatural monsters, I guess, if that makes any sense. Other than they're biting, their fangs and everything. But I get the sense that they want vampires here just to kind of be normal people.
Yeah, it's maybe it's just that they're not strong, but they're really quick. At least a number of them are.
Yeah.
Like, what is it, Mercury? Or
right.
She shows off her speed, and I guess Frost does that at the end, but he's like a god or whatever.
Yeah.
So. Well, I would have thought they were on the same level at the minimum.
Yeah.
Well, I thought that club, were they vampires? I thought it was just a covered for the blood bank below. like those are familiars or just people who are affiliated with vampires, but maybe not. Like I didn't, because you're right, I didn't feel like they were vampires.
I always thought they were vampires because it's like a room full of Japanese businessmen and they all have sunglasses on. And I think because outside the club, they explained like this is a place that they can go to a haven from dawn,
Yeah, I thought that was the basement.
Okay. I read it as the club and the all of it. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. I've always
familiars.
read this as all vampires and then maybe some familiars. Like the
cook doesn't look like he's a vampire.
Yeah, exactly.
Who are they cooking for?
What is happening? Exactly.
Yeah, because what are you gonna cook? Blood? Like
yeah, that's why I was thinking it was just like humans up there and then as a front.
Interesting.
Maybe they're whining and dining some rich humans to
maybe
because they work with humans. At least that's the impression you get from that board.
They're all like infiltrated everywhere, right?
Yeah.
But if you need a place to hide, look for the symbol and go hide in the hidey hole basement or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like a double use kind of place.
Yeah. One thing that I like from this point on, it's good mystery building because this is now something that Blade isn't familiar with. This is new to Blade. When they go down into the underneath and they find like this archive room and the server farm and all that, it's like we're experiencing something that's new to both Karen and Blade, and I like that. So
no, I love it. And then unfortunately we find Pearl.
Yeah.
Which freaks me totally freaked me out the first time I saw it. I was like, what is that thing?
Yeah. Pearl.
I took it to be like a basement troll.
Yeah.
With
his like command center.
Yeah. Makes sense that he's the archivist. Yeah. He's
record keeper.
Yeah. I don't know. Is Pearl, why is he fat?
I guess he's just stayed down and never moved. Like, that's his life. Ew.
Yeah.
And maybe Pearl was like morbidly obese when it got bit. And
see, I assume he's an elder, or I assume he's a pureblood. Because of his station. If he's been around a long time, long enough to be the record keeper, I would assume pureblood, but it's possible he was turned and he was just already large. But I don't, because earlier they think Krieger calls, he wants to talk to Pearl, and whoever's on the other end says Pearl's feeding right now. It's like I can't imagine blood would make a vampire like gain weight, but it's so unsettling. But I think it's a good effect. Some of it's CGI, some of it's obviously like prosthetics, and but I think overall it works pretty well. And the UV light thing, oh man.
Well, like you mentioned, like Karen is taking care of herself. Like he was like, oh, put the UV light if he moves.
Yeah,
and she like kills him, straight up kills him. And even Blade's like, whoa. and she's like, he moved. It's like, okay, Karen has her own anger, and is taking her own agency here.
Yeah,
she's got the name for it.
Womp womp womp.
Yeah. Then we get obviously we get a lot more of like the prophecy sort of stuff. Pearl gives Blade some details about the prophecy of the 12 and La Magra and all this vampire lore and vampire religion stuff. Obviously this is what Deacon is interested in and trying to work out. So this is where they blast through like the vault and go into like the area where they've got the actual pages of the Book of Erebus all displayed and sealed in glass and everything, which is a cool set. I don't love this action scene though. I don't love the way it I think once all the vampires show up, I think the fighting isn't great. It's just a lot of like hand-to-hand stuff, but it just almost looks like it's more for show, almost like a Steven Seagal kind of performance.
I like the little girl vampire.
The girl's great. Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I thought when that little girl sequence happened and he was like running after her?
Mm.
Do you guys remember that Obi-Wan episode where he's like Obi-Wan Kenobi is like chasing after a very young Princess Leia?
Yeah.
I was like, they should have shot it like this.
Mm.
Because I don't know, that scene was so slow and it bothered me so much. When you watch it, you're like, he totally would have caught her like 5 times by now.
Oh, yeah. I like when he sees this girl. She's all like, she's got her knees kind of bunched up to her chest, and then when the vampires show up and he turns to look at them, then she stands up, and it just seems like she's so tall. When she stands up behind him, I don't know, she comes across as very long and lean, but she's like able to hide herself in this tiny little ball to look like a little girl. So I don't know, it just really makes her more formidable when she then just starts kicking him like crazy,
like fully extended. And
yeah.
So was she a vampire? Because I thought he could like smell vampires. So
I think she is, because in the party scene,
right,
you see they kind of show her when
I
Deacon
think
gets up and kills the cop. Yeah,
I think she's watching Mortal Kombat, the movie.
Totally.
I think so, because I think it's like there's the reptile, I think, is on screen.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Let's see.
Oh, I guess the pages, I bet it smells like vampires all over the place. That's why.
Yeah, that's true. The pages of the book may be obscuring them.
Is what Whistler says, it smells like a vampire wiped its ass with it or something later.
Yeah. So obviously, Whistler shows up to bail them out of this jam. So was this always a plan, or did they need a rescue?
Yeah, he's following him.
Yeah, I think I don't think that was always a plan. I think it was like backup just in case.
Yeah. Because like, I think most of the times I've ever watched this, I think, you bust into the vampire club, you make all kinds of, you're not hiding the fact that you're just busting into this place. You throw Krieger around the kitchen, you make your way down to Pearl. Pearl says, he's on a Skype call to Frost, like Blade's here. So it's like they know you're here, but then they take their time. They, go through the vault. They look around these, the pages. Like, so it's like it's a bad tactical decision to like linger here, when they know you're here. But then if this is the plan to get caught so that Whistler can show up and save them and blow up a bunch of this stuff, like I guess I don't know where I fall on that now.
Yeah, because Quinn's at the party, so he's got to move to where this place is.
Yeah,
and it's not the same building, obviously.
Right.
So, I don't know.
I always saw that Whistler was like a backup plan, like if they got stuck.
Yeah.
Although I did wonder how he knew how far down to go and like how he kept track of Blade as he went down to the depths.
Sure.
And luckily it was a subway station or whatever.
He tracked him. That's all we need to know.
I will give a shout out to the makeup on Quinn.
Yeah, his hands.
I question how his hair grew back with braids.
Oh God,
still growing skin. But and the hand, it's like the number one thing I remember.
God, that hand was so creepy.
Yeah. Whoever decided to put him in cornrows, though, I think like cornrows and braids, it's like it's.
It's like he was burnt to a crisp, but now he's got a full beard, enough hair for.
Well, they self-generate, right?
Yeah,
they regenerate slowly.
Yeah.
Patrick's not buying it.
Whistler says that Blade will heal from all his injuries by tomorrow, so I would think that an actual vampire would heal even quicker. But now he has more extreme injuries, I would, so it takes a little bit longer. But I don't know.
Well, if his hair grew back that fast, they got to have a hell of a barber. Because wow, that's a lot of hair. See, I track the important things when I watch a movie for the 50th time.
I
So
like it. I like it.
When they escape, I don't love the train sequence. I think a lot
Mhm.
of that just looks like, I don't know if it's a CGI thing or if it's, they're using other methods to, I don't know, convey
I
some
think
of
it's
it.
that sped up film method, like in
Yeah.
the driving
Mhm.
sequence that you don't like.
That
Yeah.
could be.
You know,
Yeah, I like what's
it's like
happening. I
yeah.
like that Blade and Quinn are fighting, and I love what's happening. I don't care for, I guess, how it's being shown. So yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it's a style thing that just not into.
I
I
still
do
liked
find
it.
it. I love it. I do
Mm.
find it hard to believe that Karen for the first time is like, you're not human. Like you're one
Yeah,
of them. I'm like, come on. Like
yeah.
he's been kicking ass and
It
like,
does feel like a little late to the game to be
mhm.
questioning. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But it does lead us to the next sort of like quiet moment between Whistler and Karen, and
Yeah.
he explains Blade's history, the whole, his mother situation, and then he explains his own history, which I really appreciate.
Mhm.
Um
So dark.
yeah, yeah. And then he also talks about Blade's abilities, what he can do, why he can do the things he does. And then they talk about what Frost is kind of planning, and how there's a power structure, or there's a fight kind of in the vampire community to seize power and all that. So we get a little bit of that. And then you get Blade and Karen have a little moment where she tries to maybe relate to him a little bit and explain that he can't change what happened to his mother, and I like we get his motivation here.
Yeah.
He talks about every vampire he kills is a little bit of that life that he gets back, which sounds nice.
Well, I just like it because it's the first time that we really get to hear Blade's point of view about what he's doing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I liked you said it earlier, he gets all their strength and none of their weaknesses, but he does age.
Yeah.
So I like there's like a consequence to the power,
Yeah.
like with the thirst, and then he does age, so he'll eventually. Now I want to see old Blade, kind of like old Batman, like
Right.
like Wesley Snipes now.
The mortality.
Marvel has done some old man. They did an Old Man Logan miniseries, and then they did an Old Man Hawkeye. I think they did an Old Man Star Lord, I think. But I could see, yeah, I would read an Old Man Blade.
I'm picturing old man Hawkeye. He's
Yeah.
got like arthritis in his string fingers.
Oh my gosh. It's so terrible. He
Yeah.
can't see as well. He needs glasses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's got bifocals.
Let me put my readers on.
Cheaters
Yeah.
on. Yeah.
Brutal.
I'm sure he got LASIK, right?
Yeah. It's funny because I've mentioned the stylistic choices with some of those moments that I haven't cared for in previous scenes, but when it comes to like when they bring Dragonetti out here to the beach for the sunrise, I love everything about this whole sequence. I love the artistic way that like Frost and Mercury are like, they're putting sunblock on each other, and it's just very moody and dark. And then they take Dragonetti out and let him experience a sunrise for the first time, and then it looks like an old horror movie, just this old weird effect of him being melted by the sun. I love it. For whatever reason, this all works for me really well.
Yeah, it gave me vibes of Indiana
Raiders,
Jones.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Face melting, yeah.
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah. I did like the ripping of his vampire teeth out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like an extra level of torture,
Yeah. What he's so proud of.
I like that before the sun is even close to being out, he's already smoking. Like he's such a vampire that
he's so vampire.
Yeah, it's like what is that? It's not even dawn yet, but it's like he's already starting to smoke under the collar. And he could barely
bright out. So
I mean, yeah. No, I love that whole
yeah.
sequence.
Yeah, I liked his head just kind of rolled around after.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, it's a bit insane,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
I'm gonna call shenanigans later on something,
Okay.
but we'll get to
Okay.
it.
And I think it was also one of the like few nature shots. Everything else takes place
Yeah,
in the
that's true.
city or indoors, and I think that's what
Yeah.
like it made it stand out so much. Like, oh my god,
It's a good point.
a
Yeah.
vampire in nature.
Yeah.
Haven't seen that since Twilight.
Yeah.
Twinkling trees.
Yep.
And you get the EDTA sort of scene that Karen has developed this weapon. I like
Yeah.
that, he thinks she's working on a cure, and then it blows up. He's like, some cure, but I like that she brings this to the team. So it's just another little bonus for having her around.
And also in the meantime, like she's trying to cure herself.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So there's like a rush of time. Like she's racing time before she might potentially become a vampire.
Yeah, maybe not blow up the microscope then.
I noticed that too. It's like, what you didn't have to
Just
blow up a
got this.
microscope.
Yeah.
No, and I
Yeah.
also did you see she was like, hey, stand back, and Blade
Yeah.
goes
Looks
in
into
to look in. You're
Uh-huh.
like, all right, tough guy.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well, she did put it under a microscope, so maybe he thought he had to look at the reaction.
Yeah.
but
You know
That seems
what?
like a
That's
normal.
true.
Yeah. Yeah.
that's true. You'd be like, I have to see this then.
I think I do take a little issue with the curing thing, because they kind of make a big deal about, oh, she's been bitten and she doesn't have long for this world and she may have to take herself out, and then they're working, and then Whistler just comes up and says, oh, I guess we didn't catch it in time. And it seems like, almost feels like it comes out of nowhere. It's like she doesn't look like, if they'd
Yeah.
had maybe a moment where she was drinking a lot of water, or she was like, it's bright, I need sunglasses, just some sort of something to play off of the things he told her to look out for.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it kind of comes out of nowhere, because at this point I've almost forgotten that, oh yeah, she's been bitten and is slowly turning into a vampire, because it's never really, they never really deal with that. Or they just, like, she says, they say that, yeah, we didn't catch it in time, and then they go to get her kind of medical equipment, and then she just makes a cure, and then
She's that good.
yeah, she makes the cure, injects herself, and then immediately after that is when Frost, they come after them, take her, so it's like there's no impact of her curing herself. It's almost a throwaway thing. It's almost a blink and you miss it. Like, I think the second time around watching it, I thought I saw her like putting the cotton swab up to her arm. I thought she was doing the preliminary, like, swab the area, and then I realized, like, oh, she already stuck herself. I just happened to look away and missed that she stuck herself with a needle.
Yeah.
And now she was just swabbing it with cotton. And it's like, it just, there's no like build up to like, oh, I've cured myself, or it just,
It's kind of
Yeah.
a big deal when you think about it. It's like she came up with the cure that can,
Right.
You know what I mean? And
yeah.
it kind of gets glazed over. I absolutely agree with that.
Weirdly, the grossest part of this movie is when she's taking the Band-Aid off of her bite wound.
Ew,
Yeah.
I don't know why, but it just grosses me out.
I'm
Well,
with
because it
you.
feels kind of scabby.
Yeah.
And
crusty,
it's like the skin pulling and like the whole
Yeah.
I mean, Whistler gets wrecked here in a bit, and I'm not as grossed out as I am with
Right.
the scabby bite marks. What?
We
This is
get
true.
the Frost and Blade, confrontation. It looks like he's probably headed to the herbalist, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
And he gets like, he hears Frost, says Blade. They have this little quiet moment in the park, and obviously Frost has this little girl hostage, and it's super menacing. It's super effective. It's like, they don't stand out enough to, like, no one seems to care.
No, it's the city in general. So
yeah.
This is true. They're like, whatever.
Oh, but he does show a new superpower, fingernail growth.
Yeah.
But this is where I'm calling shenanigans, because
Okay.
he had sunglasses on. Takes them off. Eyeball should explode or something.
Yeah.
Like,
Eyeball,
unless he's got
teeth,
contacts
tongue.
now. I don't know. Yeah, anything.
Yeah.
Right, sunblock's not gonna cover your eyeballs.
Right.
Yeah, because last time they had the motorcycle helmets on, which I was like, okay, it makes sense. The sunblock just protected him
Yeah.
from the pre-dawn or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But here he's just, hanging out. Might as well be in like shorts and t-shirt and
Yeah.
whatever. But again, something I didn't notice until like
Right.
15 watches it.
One thing I noticed this go around is that I don't know if this is an actor thing that no one caught. I don't know if it's something in the story, but Frost has a Band-Aid on one of his fingers. It's the finger that he extends the nail to the girl's chin.
Oh, yeah.
That finger has a big Band-Aid on it. So I don't know what's up with the Band-Aid.
Especially because they would just heal.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know if that's something that they just missed or if it's meant to be. Maybe there was a scene where he did get injured somehow, and I don't know.
Yeah, because this is pre-Whistler interrogation.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was just maybe a miss.
Yeah.
Maybe like Steven himself had a Band-Aid and probably should have taken it off.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Karen mentioned something about how'd you get that scar, but
I was going to bring that up, later, but I don't know if the thing with that always bugs me is I don't know what scar she's talking about. I always assume
it was
that
the finger, so he's hiding it.
When she says, "How'd you get that scar?" I always look at his face and wonder, like, I look for a scar on his cheek or is anywhere on his face or maybe on his throat or neck. Most of him is covered in all these scenes. So I don't know what that scar thing was all about.
They should have made it more obvious.
Yeah. Give him a big scar on the side of his face or something to make him stand out as not being a pureblood.
Yeah.
But
or because he appears shirtless a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe like on his forearm or something.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just gonna go with the finger, and he was hiding it with that Band-Aid.
I guess.
There you go.
Maybe he got a paper cut as a human and then he became a vampire and he's had an open wound on his, ever since then.
Oh my God. The paper cut that
It'll never heal.
ends.
Just constantly stings.
Yeah.
Brutal. Oh, now I understand him. I feel bad for him now.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah. He's an all right guy.
Yeah. Then we get the Whistler and really they get attacked and Karen gets taken and then it's brutal. It's
I thought he was dead. Like
he got
stomped hard.
Yeah. Multiple times. Yeah, this scene gets me every time. I love the way like Blade comes in and he's real quiet. He pulls the sheet off and he looks at Whistler. They get this little moment before the end and everything, and Blade like dabs at his wounds with the cotton swab or whatever, the medical the gauze or whatever. I just like that care, that little, like, he's trying to do something. He knows that it's not going to make a difference, but he's trying to at least clean up some of these wounds. I've always loved this sequence.
Yeah, it's really moving. It's kind of, their goodbye.
Yeah. I do think it's kind of ruined by the fact that Whistler is in all three movies,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was because he was so that was supposed to be the end, but he was so popular.
Right. Well, yeah.
They brought him back.
Yeah.
No.
I feel like every time I watch this, I think it makes no sense that he comes back. And then I think anytime I watch Blade 2, it obviously opens with them explaining how he's still alive. And it's like, oh, I guess it kind of makes enough sense. I guess he's too far along. He's already in the turning process when he shoots himself here. And so I would think that it would have been a silver bullet. So he would have, I don't know.
Yeah.
But, so that's a little, like, I think you have to really like squint to make this work.
Yes.
But I do think it kind of cheapens it. But I mean, he's a great character. And he's great in Blade 2. So, I'm glad that he's still around, but
I like that he didn't get younger. Like,
yeah,
he's just an old vampire. I think, aging is like, your body breaking down. You figure maybe he'd get rejuvenated a little bit.
Yeah.
But we do get a key 90s item here. The
Oh,
VHS tape.
Mhm. And I love it says "watch me," but then he
Yeah.
like or "play me" or something.
Play-
Yeah.
He does, yeah.
Well, he does
Yeah.
eventually, doesn't he? Because there's
Oh,
like
yeah.
a recording of Frost.
Yeah.
It's like
Oh
if you're
yeah,
watching
that's right.
this,
That's right.
something. Yeah.
Yeah. Frost just says, "Hey, come to the Edgewood Towers. That's where we're going to be."
That's right. Yeah.
One thing that Whistler says before he goes, he says he basically tells Blade, like, don't go after these guys. That's what they want.
Yeah.
Because they need your blood. Your blood is the key. You're the chosen one. And I really dislike the whole prophecy chosen one thing. It's, it's very overdone, I think, especially like it seems to me if I was a vampire with all this power, I could and I know that biting a pregnant woman, it's seemingly at the very, near full term, due date or whatever, she gave birth to, this daywalker. It's like, wouldn't you be making a bunch of these, daywalker type? Wouldn't they be farming out like pregnant women and biting them right at the sort of the end of their pregnancy and making their own? Like if they needed if they needed the blood of a daywalker, couldn't they just get it that way?
I don't think anybody remembers until he decrypts it. Like they all forget. They think it's like a silly legend or whatever, don't they?
It's all forgotten. Like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like he looked into it.
Yeah.
And luckily
Like
he did this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also the other thing too, I like your theory about that, but I feel like, and I don't know if this was explained in the later Blade movie, like wasn't it a miracle that he survived? Like,
yeah.
Like normally it just wouldn't work, or am I just like implanting that myself because I want it?
I don't
to
know.
work.
We'll have to look out. We'll have to look out for that. So I'm very interested in that idea of just, on one hand, I don't like the aspect of a chosen one,
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I wish it was more just like they need the blood of a hybrid, and it just so happens that he happens to be that one instead of like that he is the chosen one.
And maybe like he is a miracle because the a vampire mixing with human DNA, it was probably very volatile and they don't often survive. So it's like maybe that's why he's special, because it's they don't often doesn't often work out. Maybe
that's what I was thinking, right?
Okay.
Like, yeah.
After that, you get a little bit like a montage-ish sort of thing. Blade is preparing himself. He's pouring some silver bullets. He's meditating. He does this thing with this plant that he's got growing.
Yeah.
What do you guys make of this?
Well, it's a hybrid plant.
Okay.
So it's a plant that's made. This plant is literally the culmination of two separate species.
Oh.
And it survives. So he's been kind of like caring for this plant, near his meditative area and stuff. So I think it's kind of like a metaphor of him.
Yeah. Okay.
So now he's like, fuck my hybridness. And like I gotta pick a side maybe.
It's weird because he like cut the roots.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if this was gonna be, if this ties into his mom,
I think that's totally it.
After the fact, obviously, at the time you don't know that. But
I didn't know about the plant itself being a hybrid.
Yeah, I didn't either.
That's super interesting. But yeah, I definitely thought with cutting the roots, you're making sure that this plant that I assumed, I always think I see the plant as this is like his only human thing that he allows himself to kind of do is like care for this plant, almost like in The Professional, Leon the Professional, like he cares for this plant. It's like the one like human thing that he does. And then when Whistler gets killed, I thought, yeah, he just says, fuck this plant, I'm done trying to pretend I'm human. And so I'm going to cut the root off so that it can't survive, and then now I can just be an unstoppable vampire, killing machine, and I can do that without my, human, without worrying about being human, I guess is. So it looks like we're all kind of on the same page.
Yeah, totally,
that's super interesting about the plant itself being a hybrid. I didn't.
Yeah, I looked at Dracania Leukospermum.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. I
That's,
know. I was like, whoa.
okay. Yeah, it sounds like a scientific name that I would
Yeah.
know. That probably they got to come up with a better name. There must be a
Yeah.
nickname for that thing.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure there's like a more common name.
My wife's a plant person. She probably knows what this plant is, and we may have one in the house. I don't know.
She keeps it in her meditation room.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's a half vampire.
Oh, I think they
Yeah.
called it
Never noticed.
a pincushion flower. There
Okay.
you go.
Ah, weird.
There's one little scene here with Karen and Frost and Mercury. They're all just chilling out in their whatever this apartment is, and he gets real like it's this weird moment where he obviously he's asking her like, yeah, you seem pent up, is Blade not giving it to you, like that's always felt weird. And then it turns into the conversation about turning her, and that's fine, she'll just cure herself again. And then she pokes and prods at him about him not being a pure blood. And this is another one of those moments where his face turns, once he gets annoyed at what she's saying, he just like lunges at her kind of, and his face turns instantly monstrous.
Well, yeah, because Deacon was trying to exactly like talk about sex with Karen, and then Karen starts talking about pretty much comparing his sort of vampirism as an infection or a sexually transmitted disease.
Yeah, I do like that. The thing that this time around I never really noticed before, but I noticed, and then it really made me smile, was watching Mercury, watching Deacon toy with Karen. Like she really enjoyed watching Frost toy with Karen. I don't know why I never really noticed that before, but like anytime it cuts to Mercury, her face, she's got this huge smile because she enjoys watching him toy with her. So
yeah, I think like Deacon's particular group of people are pretty sadistic.
oh yeah.
Oh right, and then Blade comes.
Oh, that's right, because like a unnamed soldier kind of steps out and says like, we've got movements.
An intruder.
in the intruder. Yeah.
This made me think of Matrix again.
Okay.
Like with
That's
the
fair.
end gunfight scene in the building.
Yeah.
And also, like, I had to, like, I mean, something that's so amazing that Wesley brings is that he actually is a martial artist.
Yeah.
He's like a
For
quite
sure.
a high level, like a 5th Dan black belt. I had to look it up. I was like, okay, so what exactly are you in? And he did Shotokan karate, Hapkido, capoeira, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and as well as like different styles of kung fu. Like he's legit. Like he's doing his own stunts, and you can tell because they show his face a lot, and I think he brings an extra level of character because he's totally enjoying kicking these vampires' asses.
Yeah, he's like the smoothest action person I've seen in a while.
Yeah,
like his movements.
Oh, I know.
He's like freaking dancing with the sword, basically. Like,
yeah,
it's just smooth. That's how I describe his fighting in movies. Is just smooth, but powerful.
So powerful. Like it's crazy. Like the physical realism is so cool.
Yeah. Now the Foley work for the punch noises.
Yeah, sometimes that's
You know what? Yeah. It's like it's like the Indiana Jones punch, right?
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
They're just hitting an old leather jacket with a baseball bat.
But you know what? Speaking of the sound design, I do love like in the quieter moments, you can actually hear like the sound of leather moving. And it makes it seem less polished and more visceral. I find that movies now kind of erase all of that stuff or make it really quiet.
Right. Yeah.
But I don't know. It makes it more like I feel like I'm really there, and adds another level of like analog realism.
Yeah, they seem to amp up the sound work when there's music playing to kind of not lose it all. In the last sequence, you'll see a lot of that. But
well, I like this sequence. It's not set to techno music. It's actual score, and it feels more personal because obviously he's coming after Frost for coming after Whistler and just all of it. And then the super effective moment is when Blade walks up to the guy who's like, I just work for them, and Blade doesn't care. He's not going to show this guy mercy,
Flashes back to Whistler, like
Yeah. Yeah.
basically.
So it's super effective moment. But then on the flip side, you do have Frost like yelling into his, it's like corporate call center Frost, wearing his headset, yelling at people for why am I hearing gunfire? I want him alive. So some of that doesn't, totally work, but
I do love the
but-
banter between him and Quinn, where Quinn's like,
yeah,
dude,
yeah.
this is like Blade. Like,
He's got the sword. Yeah,
he has like
throws
a
it up in the
sword, and there's like
air.
a bunch of guys, and then and then
Yeah.
Deacon's like, yeah, I know. He throws it in the air, catches it behind his back, does a cool move, which is
Yeah.
what happens at the end, which is amazing.
Mhm. Yeah,
I love that he pretty much talks about his own demise.
telegraphs. Yeah, that's great. There's a quick little moment. I mean, Patrick's gonna hate it, but we get a preview of what the EDTA does. He uses it on 2 vampires, and they blow up like balloons.
Patrick,
Yes.
you're eye rolling.
Yeah, I forget you guys could see me. Like, how did she know?
Yeah, I don't love the way it looks. I mean, it's obviously
No, it was-
bad
ugh.
CGI, but
Yeah.
I like the idea of it.
I like the blood exploding.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the thing I hate most about this movie, and it drives me
Mm.
nuts. I'm glad it's not until the end, so I could like
Yeah,
forget about it for
Yeah.
a while. But yeah, and
But I
then
like that we
they
get an idea
doubled
of what
down
this.
on it. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's one of those, especially at that time, it's like you kind of almost have to put your imagination into it,
Yeah,
You had to be
yeah.
like, oh, okay.
I can smooth this out in my mind, and it can be a nice, seamless, like better quality.
Yeah,
You
kids
guys
get it so easy now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They just
you guys
get
have
it.
better minds than me. I can't smooth it out as much as I try. It still looks
Right.
like a chewing gum exploding
Yeah.
thing. I don't know. Ugh.
Yeah,
No. I can't even describe what it looks like. It's like
yeah,
they turn into blood piles that start expanding and then
Mhm.
burst.
Yeah, it's like
Like,
yeah.
texturally, there's also a weird thing with their skin. It
yeah.
is weird.
because
Yeah,
it's stretching. It's like
Mm.
when your skin
Yeah.
can't hold the capacity, so it's stretching
Yeah.
so it's thinning out. Ew.
Yeah.
Because it reminded me of a more CG version of what was that stupid Carpenter movie that I watched a million times? Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh, yeah.
It's an
Where-
amazing movie.
Oh yeah, I love it, but it's completely over the top crazy.
Yeah.
And there's a guy, like one of the guardians or whatever they are, and his face starts expanding and his body starts
Oh, yeah.
expanding and eventually blows up into like paper mache.
Oh, right.
You know what I'm talking about? It made me think
Yeah.
of that when they started first expanding, but then they took it too far.
Yeah.
They doubled down on the bloody CG work.
Yeah, I wish
And-
that honestly, like if they did a blend of practical
Yeah,
and then
Mhm.
CGI'd on top, it would have been just chef's kiss.
yeah, but it takes me out of the movie every time. I don't think
Yeah.
it did at the time necessarily until the end,
Sure.
and
The-
it
yeah,
got over
yeah, yeah.
like ridiculous. But
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. There's a quick bit where obviously like Blade goes into the next room and then he is reunited with his mother, so that throws him for a loop, and then he's overtaken by Frost and several guards and everything.
Did those cattle prods those cattle prods totally remind did you ever play like the Batman Arkham series?
Hmm.
It
Oh,
totally
yeah,
Those
reminded
two
me.
games.
yeah,
Right? Yeah. So they always have those cattle prods, and I'm always like,
Mm.
oh, that would suck.
yeah.
I just think of Batman just
Yeah.
getting zapped, and I'm noticing there's a lot of like Batman and Blade sort of.
Oh, yeah.
I noticed that
like-
too,
Yeah.
especially in this scene where he's reunited with his mother, and then
Her name's Martha.
Frost. Yeah, well, Frost says like, basically flat out says like, I'm the vampire that bit your mother, and it kind of has that, the '89 Batman movie. They had the Joker kill the
Yeah.
Waynes
Yeah.
creating Batman, and then so you kind of have that here with the villain creating the hero, but this is true to the comics, so if anything, I mean, I I guarantee when they made Batman in '89, they weren't going like, let's take something from Blade, a Tomb of Dracula comic from the '70s. Like, that idea wasn't, inspired by Blade, I'm sure, but this feels like it's them copying Batman, but they're actually just copying their own material. So
Well, that's crazy.
kudos to it, yeah.
Totally. Being so true.
Yeah. And
I think I wrote down Darth Vader because he was like his father.
Oh, I am your father.
Okay. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they're one big happy family or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah.
They take them all out to the desert. So now we're like, Act 3 climax, of the movie coming up, and it kind of becomes an Indiana Jones movie, which I dig. No pun intended. I wish there had been some hint that we were going like that there was an archaeological expedition that has been underway for, I mean, months, years. Maybe some hint of like,
yeah.
Yeah, they really skipped on this one. It's like, yeah.
I feel like in one of those, the scene where we first meet Deacon Frost, and he's being, called to the principal's office by the elders. Like, they could have said, like, you need to stop having your blood rave parties. And what's this line item on your business account of like, all this digging equipment out in the desert? Like, what is that all about? I just think they could have maybe hinted that he's doing something.
I mean, did he even know the location until it was transcribed? You know what I mean?
See, I assume they found the location first and then went to the archives and tried to translate. I don't know, but
I mean, that would be logical, but and very plausible. But like, I totally thought that it was like he just wanted to translate it, found it, and then they miraculously dug it up real quick.
Oh, okay. I feel like there's enough like in the off to the sides and sometimes in some of the shots, like there's enough equipment, working equipment, that it shows that like people have been here recently. There's enough scaffolding in a couple of the shots and various things like that I think sell the idea that this is a recent dig, but I would think months, if not,
I think we need to understand the eating habits of the zombie vampire, because there are lots of bones, and maybe we could figure out how long they've been there based on
carbon date the bones in the zombie vampire pit. Yeah,
because he's got a pretty sweet pile of bones there.
That's true.
I love that concept. I love this idea that for one, I like that it's her coworker from the beginning of the movie, and I like the idea.
No less.
yeah. And I like that he's kind of like a goldfish, where it's like, I think that there's just enough of a spark in his brain, the bit of his brain that hasn't eroded. Like, and so he can remember, like he wakes up and he starts talking about like his pulse being erratic and lividity in his, so there's enough of like his memory of his medical knowledge and then Karen and their history. And I'm assuming once she gets away from him, he probably resets in like 30 seconds. And then he wakes up again and he's like, my flesh, he goes into the same like medical kind of speech. And,
that's a bummer.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, they did say,
but he's not aware of it. Like he's not conscious of it. So
yeah, I mean, he's
it's blissful.
Zombie. It's great.
Yeah.
I like that he eats vampires.
Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of just eat whatever.
Yeah.
And that it's a different, they're not borrowing from this in the sequel when they have the vampires who eat vampires. It's a totally different thing. But
the Guillermo del Toro's Blade.
Crazy mouth vampire things.
Which was like, so a little background on that, like Guillermo del Toro and David S. Goyer wrote The Strain together, and I feel like when they worked on Blade, this was like the beginnings of the creature design of the
Mm.
strain, because when you watch
Okay.
the strain, you'll be like, oh my god, those mouth vampires, I've seen them before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I never even thought of that. Yeah.
Can't wait to talk about Blade 2. We got to finish this one though.
Yes, we do.
Yep.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we get the elders are all brought in. Like there was an earlier quick scene where Frost said he needed 12 volunteers. Got all of them lined up here. They're being like, there's no fight left in them, or there was never any fight in them that we've
Yeah.
seen. So yeah, I don't know if they ever, like, how much power did they even have?
Not
I think
much.
Dragonetti had like the most. He was like the last
Yeah.
shred of it. And so when
Yeah.
they showed them his fangs, I think they were like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, give me Jack Nicholson Joker vibes where he takes over and the rest just
Mhm.
fall in line, kind of thing.
Yeah, that was
Mhm.
another
Mhm.
Batman connection.
Yeah.
And
And he burst.
uh,
I guess Joker bursts one guy into flames, kind of like the
Yeah.
Sunset Zone.
yeah.
And both were laughing
Yeah.
Yeah.
when it happened. Yeah.
Man, did we just watch Batman '89?
Pretty much, yeah.
Feels like it. All right. This is the part where I like. I'll call it Wesley Snipes in Withdrawal.
Oh
where
yeah.
like his eyes are like rolling back in his head occasionally, like he's
Mhm.
sweating, he's like kind of trying to keep focus, but obviously
Yeah.
distracted by the thirst.
Hmm.
I just thoroughly enjoy watching him, like going through like the thirst, whatever.
For sure.
And it,
I
like,
love
it's so
the setup
physical.
for that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
his body too, right? It's
Like even Quinn can knock him down,
Yeah.
and he's got like fresh baby hands. Like
Mhm.
I don't know how strong those are.
fresh baby hands. Stop. And he's
Oh,
also feeling
man.
extra powerful because he's got blades, shades, you know.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Maybe it's the secret to his power.
Yeah.
It's the shades.
That's why he needed them back.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. I love the whole blood draining sequence. I love the chamber that they put Blade in, and that whole process of draining him. I like this set piece a lot. I like how all that works. The blood draining through the holes and then running down this temple and everything. I think is really cool.
Yeah, I just realized something on this watch.
What's that?
He's already wearing a t-shirt, so they cut his shirt off just for the movie, like to show off his
Sure.
bod.
Yeah.
Because like all it does is cut his wrists. So
Right.
it's like,
Yeah.
why are they cutting
That's
his
funny.
shirt off?
Well, because his mom has to come onto him with his shirt
Oh,
off.
God.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that is the worst scene in this movie.
Oof, I know.
It's so weird.
She's like, I'm not your mother anymore.
Yeah.
I know, and it's like what's the reverse, like, Oedipus complex, right? It's just like,
Yeah.
bleh.
Because
Like his name-
I try to watch. Every time I watch it, I try to view it as, if they're not trying to make it seem like his mom is coming on to him, what are they trying to say in this scene? But then it's like it's blatant, it's like,
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you can.
yeah, it's so
turn it.
weird. It's
Yeah.
a weird choice. Ew.
Totally. I think what they're, I think it's a commentary on vampires, that they're just like over
guess.
sexualized and
Yeah.
don't care about familial rules. It's just a
Yeah.
big orgy, Travis.
Right. I'm the prude. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You would
I
make a
should have
terrible
listened-
vampire.
Yeah. I should have listened to the commentary on that part to see if maybe Goyer
Yeah.
would say like what they were
Oh,
trying to do
maybe.
there.
Yeah. I think I'm more disturbed that Blade's name is Eric.
Really?
Like,
That takes you
hey,
out.
Yeah. I'm like, well, I was like, that kind of tracks. I could see a dude named Eric calling himself Blade.
Yeah.
Like, that seems like an Eric thing to do. But
In the comics, his name is Francis Eric Brooks.
Really?
So,
wow.
Frank. Yeah. And for a while, he
Yeah.
called himself
Francis.
Frank Blade. But
See, Eric is better.
yeah. Yeah. I like Eric.
I don't
Yeah.
know. It just throws me off because he doesn't look like an Eric.
Mm.
Like, I don't know.
Because his
like,
name is Wesley. So
Yeah.
you're like,
Yeah. I don't know. Eric. I think it's a name that's aged out. I don't know any Erics like that have been
Young
born
Erics.
past. Yeah, I don't know
Right.
any Erics born circa 2000.
Well, he's born in 67.
Yeah,
You know what?
I guess that's true.
You're
That's
gonna have a listener who's born in
Yeah.
2000 being like, "What the hell? My name's Eric." Come on, Patrick.
well, prove me wrong, Eric. Sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Send your
Come
emails,
at me, bro.
Yeah. As much as I like really enjoy this movie, this is kind of where it starts to lose me, because once the blood starts to flow, and like once the wind machine in the temple starts to pick up and shirts are billowing and hair is blowing and the storm clouds outside are gathering and lightning is going on, it's like then it loses me, because then it becomes a Ghostbusters movie, which is fine for a Ghostbusters movie. But like if you, in this movie, they spend, I thought, a good amount of time explaining the science of vampirism, that their blood can't process hemoglobin or something like that. It's a scientific thing. It's a, but then at this point of the movie, it's like, oh, it just becomes a spiritual, real, religious thing. And I don't know. I don't love that about it.
You can have both.
Yeah, I think because what like Deacon was saying was that this is like they were, all the I guess like Vampire Council were like, oh, it's an old child's tale. It doesn't exist. It's just fairy tales you tell. And so the fact that like Deacon like researches it and tries it out, I think it should be some sort of ancient spiritual magical thing that's not scientific, because it's not of the time now.
Because Indiana Jones is scientific and then goes
That's
Lost
true.
Ark on us, and
that's fair. Yeah,
I don't know. It's pretty methodical. You need 12 dopes that associate with a symbol, and a really ornate palace that
and to
trips
them
certain blood.
it's their religion, right? Yeah.
So it doesn't bug me as much.
Okay.
But yeah, I can see what you're saying. They do lean into the science pretty heavy, and then all of a sudden
I think it's just a few of those moments. It's like, it's the stuff I was talking about, the environmental effects, and then I don't like the vampire soul winged skeleton.
I love that part.
Oh, the little winged demons.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's like Clash of the Titans skeletons all of a sudden show up.
Yeah. I don't hate the look of it. It's just the idea of it. It's like, so inside of every vampire, or maybe just elders or purebloods, like they have a demon
skeleton
soul. I don't know. That's what that also, it's like, that just feels Ghostbusters to me. The idea of like these spirits, swirling around and then entering Deacon, and then him becoming this blood god. I don't know.
It's just science we don't understand yet.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's vampire science, yo.
Yeah.
It's a combination of the Daywalker blood, the runes, the lightning. I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah, because they look like they die. Like,
oh yeah.
like, I mean, I know they do
burn
die,
up.
but they kind of look like how when Blade kills them, like they sort of burn away, and then it's just the skeleton.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of effect, except they're,
or maybe it's more like they just
mouth.
need a sacrifice to awaken the demon. It just, they probably thought it was cooler if it came out of the mouth.
Yeah.
But
I always wondered, like, because they talk about needing 12 volunteers, and then at one point Mercury kills one of them. She kills business vampire, who's actually, he's Khan's right-hand man in Wrath of Khan.
Oh, cool.
But so like she kills him basically so that the sword can be where we need the sword to be for later. And then I always wonder, so did they bring 13 people and they still have a 12, or did she mess up, the 12 by killing this guy? I've always wondered that. But
yeah, it didn't count. They must have brought a spare though, otherwise that wouldn't have worked out.
Because I think they all were wearing business suits.
Yeah. Then we get Karen frees Blade of his this chamber, the blood draining chamber, and then trying to remember, he feeds on her, and then his mother shows up. So The whole feeding on her thing. I always this was kind of a new experience for me because I was watching it with subtitles and always thought, she gives him her blood for a little bit, and then I always took it as she was telling him to stop. Like, okay, if you keep going, I'm gonna die, basically. But I always heard stop several times, and then in the in the subtitles while I was watching it, she says don't stop, like urging him on to like
Oh.
take more blood. So it kind
Oh,
of
that
changes
changes
it. Like,
things. Yeah.
yeah, like I always thought he was almost going too far, becoming like letting the vampire side of him take over and almost draining too much blood out of her before he stopped.
Wow.
But then now it's like, oh, she is committed to him needing, her blood and saying, don't stop, keep going,
So that you
do
can
what you need
like,
to do.
yeah,
Yeah.
gain your
So
strength. I always
I don't
heard
know.
stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
And
always thought yeah.
sometimes subtitles are not always 100% accurate. I've noticed with some other movies. So maybe because I don't even like looking at her mouthing the words. I don't see her say don't. I just see her say stop, and that's all I really hear. I think you can kind of hear it maybe, but it's like it's while she's being fed on, so it's very like labored,
Yeah.
So I don't know, but.
Ooh, that's interesting because I find that
Yeah.
sometimes subtitles will kind of retcon
Mhm.
and kind of change the
Yeah.
story to to make it go. So that would be fascinating. Oh, I wonder you should watch the commentary and see what it says.
Yeah. Let's see. So then there's the confrontation with his mother, which is, I'm glad that doesn't last too long.
Mhm. But yeah, this is another example of like the the rules of the universe. He takes like a vampire bone and stakes her, but I'm pretty sure it was like in the solar plex versus the heart. But that's just me being nitpicky.
Yeah. Maybe if I was thinking about it, I because it seems like it's dead center. I thought maybe he severed her spine with it somehow. I don't know.
Either way, she's gone.
Yeah.
So we don't have to worry about any more creepy
Good
moments.
riddance. Yeah.
Yep. And then so in one of my chat groups, future past guest of the show, Jarf, he was on our Steel episode. He asked if this like this next scene is the first instance of the superhero landing on like a comic book movie.
Yeah.
And it might be. I can't think of another one before this. But this one it's amazing. Like he jumps, from a great height and then just does a perfect superhero landing. But
He does a
yeah,
lot
this
of
might
posing,
be.
So yeah.
Yeah. But like Batman never does a superhero landing like the what's typical now. Because he, that suit was so limiting.
Yeah, he's a little stiff
on any of them,
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we've covered a
this
bunch
is
of them.
it.
I can't think of any other instance.
Well, they consider this like the first Marvel movie success.
Yeah, they hadn't had a theatrical Marvel movie since Howard the Duck. So, the less said there, the better.
Wow. So from Howard the Duck to Blade.
Yeah. They had like the Captain America stuff, but it all kind of went to Punisher. Like it probably hit a theater or two, but like not massive release or anything. Yeah. And then it's such a amazing like return for Blade. Like he just, I love it when he finishes draining her. He does that like kind of growl and roar, and then after his mother, he like grabs his vest or his part of his gear and does that leap, and then it's on. Just love this whole sequence. For me, like this, the character Blade from this point on is perfect. It's a perfectly. This whole next scene is perfect for the character.
Yeah, this is like the epitome of Blade.
Yeah. I love the fight in the blood rave at the beginning, but this one is really tough to beat, this whole sequence.
And I love all that he says is Frost.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all he says. He's just calling out to him in different ways.
Yeah.
And then R.I.P. Quinn.
Oh yeah.
But you know what happens when he like totally beheads him? Music
Gets his-
pump.
And he gets those shades back. Yep.
Yeah.
I like one of the goons he fights. He just rips his throat out, and then he throws but then he throws the throat at another guy.
Yeah. It's very Swayze and Roadhouse.
Yeah.
Throat
Yeah.
rip. And I like the guy he just kind of pushes to the side.
Yeah.
Like
He hits him a
after he-
couple times and then shoves him as he walks away.
Yeah.
No, this is all good. There's one guy like towards the down in like the pit area. He just keeps kicking him.
Till he bounces out of the pit.
Yeah.
Because there's like one guy that he like just before that he like I think breaks his neck and then he like turns into dust and bone. Like
Okay.
no
It's like
silver
some
at
of these
all.
guys are vampires and some of them aren't, and it's
Yeah.
you know there's
Mhm.
never any. I love when he gets to the sword later. He does some flourishes with the sword and cuts up the guys that he just beat up and turns them into ash. And I always noticed that sequence was in the trailers, but they digitally erased the vampires turning into ash. Like I think they were saving that as a reveal.
Oh,
So
very cool.
if you watch the trailers, like you don't see the two guys getting incinerated. So
And then we get that final sword fight
yeah,
with Deacon and Blade, which was not in the original cut.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got this cut.
Mm.
Patrick,
Yeah.
if you hated the gelatinous blob, well, let me tell you, the original cut, he was apparently like this gelatinous, faceless blob.
Oh, that's
I
fun.
always heard it described
Ugh.
as once La Magra had taken over, it was like a blood tornado
Mm-hmm.
is what I always heard it
Yeah.
described as. So
Because he was supposed to like not really have a shape and kind of like dodge things. And yeah,
yeah.
apparently test audiences just hated it.
Yeah. Good call. Although we still get the blob, but whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the whole
So I think
cutting him in half thing.
yeah,
But I like
love
that. I
do
love
too.
that.
That works for me. I love the hand,
I
reappearing.
like the hand. Yeah, I don't know. It just looks. I'm looking at it now, and I just
It
hate
doesn't
every
look the
second of
best.
it.
Sure.
I get the concept is cool.
Yeah.
The
yeah.
execution is just painful to watch.
Yeah. I think
I'm
it's
like-
almost like the scale of the texture that they use, the bubbles. I think if they
Yeah.
had made them smaller, like it just looks like we're too zoomed up on this bubbling blood. Like it just, I don't know.
Yeah.
No, it was very of the
The-
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one thing with Deacon becoming La Magra is that doesn't really come across. Like his eyes are red.
Mhm.
When
Well,
Mercury says like Deacon, or I think she says Deacon, and he says like not anymore. But there's no difference really. There's not a
Yeah.
change in personality. There's not, and I think it's probably that got lost in the editing. I think because him becoming La Magra was that blood tornado. So when they got rid of that, they didn't have footage of him performing, like him playing it.
Well, they had
As
to
a different-
reshoot. They reshot that entire
Okay.
sword. Like that
Okay.
was all reshoots. That whole sword scene didn't exist. That whole last fight
Mhm.
scene. And I think test audiences were just saying that they wanted to see Deacon. They wanted Stephen
Yeah.
Dorff. So
Yeah, I think it's better to have your villain remain your
Yeah.
villain and not become someone else. Yeah.
So I mean, they did do like the super fast speed, and he, yeah, they could have definitely done more.
Yeah.
Maybe they were obviously limited on time if this was a reshoot after like a test
Yeah.
Yeah.
audience viewing. So, and that was 20 minutes that they added on to these. So that's a lot.
I should not have paused on the blood blob. Okay. Mm.
Your favorite, it paused for you.
Yeah.
Oh, God. I always look at the one leg that's like normal, like every time.
That's funny. I think if it had been maybe a little bit more like the kind of final monster in The Thing, where it had
Mhm.
like, because
Mhm.
I think anytime I watch Blade and balloons up into this big monster. I think it looks like there's a couple skulls in these bulges, but I think it's just my eyes like playing tricks on me. Because I'm thinking of the vampire skulls and skeletons or whatever that were in the kind of previous thing. So it's like I'm almost expecting it to the idea of like he's got the souls of so many vampires in him or something, and that's what's ballooning up and all that. But it's really just blood. But so it's like on that level it kind of works because it kind of makes him more monstrous, which I dig. But
yet again, Blade comes through without a drop of blood on him.
Yeah, despite like putting his arm up to block the spray. But yeah, he's
like
clean.
he doesn't get a drop of blood at the bloodbath, not at the giant blood god blowing up. Dude is pristine.
Oh yeah,
leather is expensive to dry clean, so he's just taking care of business.
You said he was smooth. He has a coating. It just slicks the blood right off.
Ooh,
gotcha. So non-stick blood surface.
Yeah.
Got it.
It's like
I love the way
but blood proof.
Yeah. Impressive.
I love that it comes down to that. What was assumed to be his serum was really like this weapon.
Boom boom.
So I love that. Yeah.
So Karen does save the day with that.
Yeah. I think it's a great ending. Like they don't waste time. Like once they kill Deacon, it's like, hey, let's get out of here, and then they climb out the roof or wherever outside, and then they talk about the cure, and he's like, maybe I'll take your cure someday, but for now, just make me a better serum. And I love the idea that Karen's part of the team. She may not be in the other movies, but it still works that she's she probably goes back to her day job at the hospital, but she also supplies Blade with, weapons, this sort of weapon.
But we can't skip over the like iconic line of the film, right?
Oh, of course not. No.
Which I've been told people were actively saying all the time when this movie came out.
For sure. Go for it. You're
okay.
You're the actor here.
No, oh man. No, it's just like, well, it's just I don't you know what, when he said it, I'm like, this doesn't even make sense. Like if you think about it, where he's like, some motherfuckers are always just trying to ice skate uphill. And you're like, what?
Yeah, it's out of context. It's like, how does that apply to this situation? I don't know, but it sounds really cool.
He was striving for something he couldn't reach, like trying to ice skate uphill, which is hard to do, I guess.
I think like Deacon was trying to like dig up the past to make the future. It was like too much effort.
What's the Icarus reaching?
Mm-hmm. Too close
reaching
to the sun.
Yeah, all that. I think my favorite moment from the end of the movie here, that kind of final fight, is the when Deacon regenerates and Blade looks back and he just mouths, what the fuck.
Yeah.
It's perfect. That is a gift for the GIF era. That is a perfect response. But they shot a Morbius scene here at the end across one of the rooftops. They were going to look out, Karen and Blade were going to look out over one of the rooftops, and on an adjoining or a nearby building, Morbius was just going to be there. So I think it's a deleted scene. I think you can see it.
I think it's an alternate ending on the DVD.
Yeah.
And then I looked on IMDb, and apparently, so remember that like police chase with Officer Krieger, and there's a vampire on the side of the road. So they named that Dr. Michael Morbius.
Really?
Yeah, and that was the director.
Interesting.
Stephen Norrington doing his cameo.
Okay. Interesting. The thing I like is that this movie ends with like fades into Moscow like later or something. And we just get a nice little button at the end of the movie to show us that Blade is still out there, but he's moved on to another place. And So I actually read the novelization to this when I was a kid, like when this was movie came out.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. The only things I remember really from the novelization are when heat-seeking Dennis goes to the club and he bumps into Deacon. It's just like a throwaway moment in the movie. Like he recognizes Deacon. He's like, "Oh my God, that's Deacon Frost," So that always stuck with me. And then this ending, because in the novelization, this isn't some Russian vampire that he is about to kill this lady. This is Whistler in the book. So he's the original, the novelization sets up that he's taking on Whistler at the end of the movie. So I kind of always like that idea, especially given the fact that the way the next movie starts. So
Weird.
Yeah.
That would've been
Interesting.
kinda
Yeah,
cool.
because I did read like in an article that they kind of were playing around with the Morbius ending because they were going to have Morbius be the villain in Blade 2.
Yeah, which might have worked a little better, maybe. I don't know. I like Blade 2 a lot, but it's
Yeah.
hard for me to watch Blade 2 and not just see Del Toro kind of doing his own thing, because Blade 2 and Hellboy 2 are almost the same movie. It was kind of just Guillermo del Toro just kind of doing his own, making his own fairy tale sort of movies, which are great, but yeah.
I do want to mention, it's so funny because I watch this on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
So they always recommend a movie after.
Mm.
Do you want to know what movie they recommend?
I mean, I would think it would jump into Blade 2, but I'm guessing not.
You would hope, but they did not. It was a vampire movie, vampire hunter movie.
Oh.
Fright
Think
Night?
of other
Oh, Fright Night would have been good. No, they suggested Van Helsing.
That's Hugh Jackman.
That's hilarious. In my
I know.
In my like friend messenger group, listener Jeff was watching Van Helsing, and I was defending Van Helsing as just being a fun movie, which I wholeheartedly agree with. I think Van Helsing is fun, like action, movie about monster.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's a fun bad movie.
Into.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. If you want to have a serious vampire movie, that is not it.
Yeah. Interesting that they would. Yeah. Well, shall we go through quickly and kind of do the some of the wrap up stuff and talk about our most heroic and most villainous and all that?
Sure.
Okay.
Or I'll jump in with we'll start with most heroic.
I believe there's a hero in all of us.
I just finally know what I have to do.
That keeps us honest.
I'm here to fight for truth and justice in the American way.
Gives us strength.
You will give the people of Earth an ideal to strive towards.
Makes us noble.
And I know in my heart that it's right.
I was trying to avoid the Karen offering her blood to Blade, but it's kind of the obvious choice, but I'm interested to find out if either of you have any other standouts.
That was my first too.
Yeah.
Patrick?
That was not my first.
Okay, well then what do you got? What do you got?
Well, my first heroic moment was just the original entrance at the bloodbath.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's
Great.
the hero. He's kicking everyone's ass. He showed up and everyone freaked out. To me, that was the best hero entrance / heroic moment. He saves the heat seeker guy.
Mm-hmm. It is a solid it's probably one of the best hero entrances that we've had in a long time.
Yeah, I was like, that's a hero.
Yeah.
So that was my obvious choice, and
gotcha.
But I get
Fair.
Karen because she's the one that kind of saves the hero to save the day. So I get that.
How about most villainous?
This planet, these people, they are nothing to me.
You were made to be ruled.
The universe's power. You unstoppable power. Come to me, son of of Jor-El, kneel before Zod. And I am that force. I am that power.
In the end, you will always kneel.
Kneel before your master.
That one's tough.
I mean, throwing
Yeah.
a kid at like a bus, that's pretty
Yeah.
low.
Yeah. I went with
Yeah.
Frost kind of turning his mother against him.
That's pretty
You
good.
know,
Yeah.
just flat out turning his mother and like
Yeah.
keeping her,
Yeah.
you know,
As his little pet, you know.
yeah.
That is pretty
So-
fucking dark, yeah.
Yeah. Nee, what'd you have? Or did
I
you,
did
you
say
said
I said the kid.
oh,
The
yeah,
kid.
Yeah.
It's pretty, yeah.
I'm gonna say Karen with the UV light.
On Pearl.
On
yeah,
Pearl?
that was pretty hardcore. Even Blade was like, "Whoa, what the hell?"
Yeah.
Like,
It's
you
true.
know, it's
Man.
pretty rough when Blade's
Karen
like,
let
"Whoa."
out her inner rage.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because like, like she went from like defending the officer like a few hours ago
Yeah.
to then like lighting up this poor excuse for a vampire that's like
Yeah.
trapped, and I just felt bad for that vampire. Like,
Yeah.
I did say, whoa, when that happened again. I was like, oh, I
Yeah.
forgot that she
Yeah.
just finishes Pearl.
Yeah.
yeah, I forgot she keeps going. Like
Mhm.
I knew she did it, but then I forgot how long she did it.
Yeah.
And yeah, and when and the fact that it was because Pearl moved.
Yeah.
Where's Pearl moving? Like,
Yeah. She,
Mhm.
I think she was taking out her, like,
I
all this
guess,
shit
but,
that has happened and piled on her, you know,
but
last couple
Pearl's
days.
not going
like,
out there hunting anybody. She's,
well,
No, but Pearl's
not
cracking the
hunting.
code.
he's
cracking
not
the
hunting, but
code,
he
giving
is feeding.
answers. Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
feeding off of donated blood.
Uh-huh.
You
You
saw the bags
vampire
of
apologist.
This
No, I'm a
is
Pearl apologist.
That donated
You said
definitely
Deacon was
had
a
air
good guy
quotes.
earlier.
No, there was that in his
What?
truck. He had the bags of blood. I think that's what
Yeah.
Pearl was eating. Yeah,
Okay.
I
just
look-
having some
yeah.
blood smoothies. Yeah.
What? That would not be enough. One of those little bags?
Well-
No way.
No, I'm sure there's. I don't know. I'm just saying, Karen,
Mm-mm, you are digging a hole.
you're scaring me.
I'm saying those like girls that were on stage singing in the club upstairs
Mhm.
probably were his next victims.
No way. They were entertainers. You can't get rid of them.
Yeah.
Ooh, that they need better entertainment.
Yeah. I know it's
Uh,
such a cliche with the whole like schoolgirl outfit
I know. I know.
Yeah.
and the singing not the best, but you know, whatever. They're trying. They're at least putting in
Yeah.
the energy. So I'll give them that. All right. R.I.P. Pearl.
Yeah.
Rate it.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, you all know what mine's gonna be.
Mm.
It's gonna be 5 out of 5.
Right on.
I love Blade. I honestly, like, every time I watch it, I have the biggest smile on my face. I do. It's so
Yeah.
fun.
I'm close to you. I'm at a 4. You know, this is like I said earlier, it's a franchise like I've revisited often, and I never have a bad time watching it. Yeah, there are aspects of it that I don't care for, but overall, yeah, it is a solid movie from a time when Marvel was not putting out comic book movies. I mean, this
At
was
all.
for the long. I mean, this one kind of flew under the radar for a long time of like, oh, this was a Marvel movie, So it just kind of does its own thing, and I think it is probably better for it, So I dig this. I dig the franchise.
And I think like Wesley Snipes totally makes the film.
Oh yeah.
Did you
Yeah.
know that he wasn't supposed to be Blade?
For the longest time, he was supposed to be Black Panther.
Exactly. So they had someone else for Blade because they were kind of
Mm.
happening at the same time.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be LL Cool J.
Yeah. I saw LL Cool J, Denzel, and Lawrence Fishburne were names that were at least, I don't know how serious, those were, but
What about Morgan Freeman while we're at it? Man,
No, right?
that's
it's crazy.
hilarious.
It's
LL
crazy.
Cool J.
Mm.
Apparently, he was a strong contender. Yeah.
I'm sure Wesley Snipes being able to do his own action scenes is probably what, locked it in for him, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I can't imagine LL Cool J being like brooding and like mysterious. He's so like likable and things.
Yeah.
Like I always enjoy LL Cool J, and he doesn't seem like he'd be a tough, mysterious character.
You definitely have like a different flavor for sure.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah.
So where are you at, Patrick?
It's gonna sound weird.
Oh no.
But this is an epitome of a 5 out of 5 because no matter how much I hate that blood blob thing, it still doesn't impact how much I watch this movie and enjoy this movie. It's almost become like a love-hate thing where I'm like, oh god, here we go again. But like it's gotten to the point where it's just it is what it is. And I just move on.
And you keep watching it.
And I keep watching it.
See, that's proof is in the pudding.
So if a movie can do that and have such a hideous effect, and I still come back and enjoy every minute, then that's a 5 out of 5.
Yay!
Awesome.
I don't think we've ever agreed, Patrick. This is monumental.
Oh man.
You're so mad.
It feels weird.
No, you locked it in, man. That's it. It's recorded. It's locked in.
You guys are on the same page on Mission Impossible.
Okay. Oh,
okay.
All
Okay.
right. Okay.
So I think Nhi just assumes that we're constantly in battle against each other for some reason.
I think maybe it was because it was like, what was it? It was Army of Darkness. You were like, what? To everything I was saying.
I could be combative. I'll give you that.
No, I like it. It's good.
Yeah. So, well, I'm glad we enjoy Blade.
Yeah.
And even a 4 is good. So, I mean, all around, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
So,
it's a great movie. So people listening who haven't seen it, go see it.
Oh, yeah.
Watch this movie.
Yeah, just cover your eyes
Especially
when the
like
Band-Aids come off and you're good.
Yeah. This time of year, it's we're getting into
yeah.
Halloween season. Like it's a perfect time to sit down and watch Blade.
Yeah, it's in the Halloween rotation.
Yeah. So Nhi, what do you got going on? What do you want to plug and anything you want to announce or anything?
Sure. I don't know how many listeners play video games, but I am voicing a character in a video game called 1000 Times Resist. And that's the number 1000 X Resist. And it's on Steam and Nintendo Switch. It comes out first quarter of 2024. So that's January, February. But the demo is available on Steam to play now.
Nice.
That's
and
cool.
it's a sci-fi hyper cinematic point and click adventure. So unfortunately, no fights if you like that. But your choices matter. And at the end, I believe there's like 7 different endings depending on what you choose.
Wow.
So,
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah. Check that out. And then I will be on a new show, which I believe is coming out in January called Sight Unseen, which I believe is available in the States on the CW on Roku and CTV if you're in Canada.
What's that show about?
It's about a detective who's slowly losing her eyesight. So she starts to lose her job, and so they can only hire her on as a consultant. So now she has someone who operates as her eyes.
Oh, okay. Nice.
For her.
But she's
but yeah, so she's still being able to, she's still got the mind of a detective.
Still a detective. Yeah.
Nice. And that's why it's called Sight Unseen. And I play a detective in the Vice Department. So those are all homicide detectives. And so I'll be in episode 7.
Nice.
And there is a movie coming out called Spread on Tubi.
Okay.
Yes, have you checked
Oh,
out
yeah.
Tubi?
I used Tubi to last episode we did the Avengers from 1998. So yeah, I watched it on Tubi. Yeah.
So there's a workplace comedy coming out called Spread. I'm not sure when, but it's just stacked with an amazing cast, including Liz Gillies, Harvey Keitel, Terry Polo, Diedrich Bader.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's okay. It's kind of this concept is so funny. It's about a girl who wants to be a serious journalist, but she runs out of money. So then she takes like, those headhunt, like those day jobs where she calls in and they just fill a job in for you. I
Okay.
can't remember what that's called. When you're like, oh my God, I need a
Yeah.
job.
Like a temp.
Temp service.
Yeah, a temp
Yeah.
agency.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so she ends up working at a porn magazine.
Okay. So literally spread. Okay.
Yeah. And the
Nice.
magazine's called Spread. So yeah, it's
Right,
it's
of
very,
course.
and hijinks ensue. So
Nice. Very
That is
cool.
Hilarious.
yeah.
Okay.
And then what's the next
Nice.
episode for you fine folks?
Yeah, we're coming back with Star Trek Insurrection,
Ooh,
which
good
that's a
one.
new Star Trek for me. I've not made it that far, so
Oh, wow. You'll have
Yeah.
fun. That was a good one.
Yeah, never seen it
liked
either.
okay.
I'm not a big Trekkie person, so
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you guys.
We liked First Contact. That was a great one.
Yeah.
So but
yeah,
yeah.
Star
So,
Trek
yeah,
was
we'll-
always the super nerdy of the nerdiness
Yeah.
for me. Like,
I know. If you could see me, I'm pushing up my glasses now.
yeah. Star
Amanda and
Wars
I
was
have-
more
have-
the normie version, and Star
Yeah.
Trek was like a notch more nerdy, I think, for me.
Nice.
Definitely leveled
We've
up on the
we've
nerd.
watched
Yeah.
most of the Star Trek shows. I mean, all the newer stuff we've watched, but now we're going back and watching the original series with Shatner and Leonard Nimoy and
Oh, nice.
having fun with it. So yeah,
Yeah, I'm watching Shatner too, but it's Rescue 911 on Pluto TV
nice.
from the 90s.
Yep.
Lots of mullets. It's fun to watch.
Oh, I still have to check out his new documentary.
Oh,
What's-
which I know he does some stuff like supernatural stuff on Netflix. Is there a?
His documentary is called "You Can Call Me Bill." And I
Oh,
think it. I
oh,
think
okay, it's
it.
about him.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a documentary about him, and I think it
Gotcha.
was they had it at South by. So I
okay.
still haven't. Yeah, I think it's probably in this film festival circuit. I don't know if it's actually out yet, but
That's cool.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's an interesting character.
absolutely.
Hell yeah.
Just watch Galaxy Quest. No.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, we have definitely taken up so much of your time tonight, but I cannot thank you enough, Nee, for always being up for, coming and hanging out and having fun with us.
Absolutely. It's such a
Yeah.
pleasure. I mean, come on, we're talking about movies together, It's fantastic.
Glad we could be on the same page for once. On most
I
of this.
know.
That's good.
Amazing. It's been like a
Yeah.
year at least.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now look at us. We know each other so well.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm gonna get your used shirt in the mail.
You're used to yes. Yeah. Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. I'll Febreze it maybe.
Nice.
You know.
I'm not gonna
On
wash
that-
it. I'm just gonna Febreze it.
Yeah, this is good. You see the commercial? It takes the stink into bubbles and they float away. Yeah.
Well, on that note, why don't we get out of here? We'll be back with, what did I say? Star Trek Insurrection.
Yep.
But until then, stay safe out there, citizens.
It is human nature to wonder what it would be like to never grow old, to experience utter peace and harmony. And it is also human nature for some of us to want what we do not have.
Alert! Area 12. He's trying to remove the headpiece.
Do not delay the countdown.
And for others, to stand in their way.
We are participating in the outright theft of a world.
They were never meant to be immortal. Who the hell are we to determine the next course of evolution for this people?
Radiation coming from the planet's rings continuously regenerates our genetic structure.
We're only moving 600 people. We'll be able to help billions. This is the moment we've planned for so many years.
How many people does it take before it becomes wrong?
How many
people does it take, Admiral?
I wouldn't be tempted by the promise of perpetual youth.
There are hard choices to be made. Censorship. Don't let go of this moment.
Looks like you're planning on doing some hunting.
Return to your quarters. That's an order.
No uniform, no orders. The environmental anomalies may have stimulated certain rebellious instincts which could affect everyone's judgment. Except mine, of course.
Okay, Data, what do you think we should do?
Saddle up. Lock and load.
Move these people out!
Stand in defiance.
Definitely feeling aggressive tendencies, sir.
Hold your ground.
If a court-martial is the only way to tell what is happening here, I welcome it, Admiral.
Join the rebellion.
Blow off the ramp scoop. Stand by. Full thrusters.
Star Trek Insurrection.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. Find the show on Facebook and Twitter at Real Comic Heroes. All music and audio are the property of their respective creators.